When Justine Wilson Musk stepped in front of the 60 Minutes cameras after 17 years of silence, she had one goal: to tell the world the truth about her ex-husband's secret obsession with Mars. What she revealed about their lost son, Nevada, would shock millions and force Elon Musk to make the most emotional confession of his life. But first, it all began with a simple question at a Tesla press conference that would change everything. The hot Texas sun beat down on the Tesla Gigafactory as hundreds of people filled the parking lot. Cars stretched as far as the eye could see. News trucks with tall antennas lined the street. Everyone wanted to be here for Elon Musk's big announcement. Inside the massive factory, the air buzzed with excitement. Workers in blue uniforms stood next to their machines. Reporters checked their cameras one more time. Investors in expensive suits whispered to each other about stock prices. At exactly 10 a.m., the lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the small stage where Elon Musk walked out. He wore his usual black Tesla t-shirt and jeans. His hair looked a little messy, like he had been running his hands through it all morning. "Good morning, everyone." Elon's voice echoed through the huge space. The crowd clapped and cheered. Sarah Chen sat in the front row of reporters. She worked for Tech Today magazine and had covered Elon's companies for 5 years. Something felt different about him today. Usually he seemed confident and relaxed at these events. But today his smile looked forced. "Thank you all for coming," Elon continued. He clicked a remote control and a giant screen behind him lit up. "Today we're going to change the world. Again." The crowd laughed. They loved when Elon talked big like this. On the screen, pictures showed sleek silver batteries that looked like giant phone batteries. But these were as big as refrigerators. "This is the Tesla 5000X battery," Elon announced. "It can power an electric car for 2,000 miles on one charge. That's enough to drive from New York to Denver without stopping." The audience gasped. Even Sarah felt excited. This was huge news. Electric cars that could go that far would change everything. Marcus Thompson stood near the back of the crowd. He was Elon's oldest friend and worked as an engineer at SpaceX. Marcus had seen Elon give dozens of presentations over the years. But something was wrong today. Elon kept touching his phone in his pocket. His eyes darted to the exit doors every few minutes. "These batteries use a new type of lithium that we discovered in our Nevada mines," Elon explained. He clicked to the next slide. "They charge in just 15 minutes. And they're completely safe. No fires, no explosions, no problems." The crowd erupted in applause. Factory workers high-fived each other. This meant their jobs were secure for years to come. But then Elon's phone buzzed in his pocket. He tried to ignore it, but it buzzed again and again. "The best part," Elon said, his voice getting a little shaky, "is that we can start making these batteries next month. The first cars with 5000X batteries will be on the road by Christmas." More cheers filled the factory. Camera flashes went off like fireworks. "Now," Elon said, "I'll take a few questions." Hands shot up all over the crowd. Elon pointed to a man from Car and Driver magazine. "Mr. Musk, how much will these batteries cost?" "Great question," Elon replied. "They'll add about $3,000 to the price of a new Tesla. But you'll save that much in gas money in the first year." He pointed to another reporter. "Yes, you in the blue shirt. Will other car companies be able to buy these batteries from Tesla?" Elon grinned. "We'll see. If they play nice, maybe we'll share." The crowd laughed again. But Sarah noticed that Elon's grin faded as soon as he thought no one was looking. His phone buzzed again. This time Elon couldn't help himself. He glanced down at the screen. His face went pale. Really pale. Like he had seen a ghost. Sarah's reporter instincts kicked in. Something was definitely happening. She raised her hand high in the air. "Mr. Musk." "Sarah Chen from Tech Today." Elon looked at her. For just a second, she saw fear in his eyes. Then he put his business smile back on. "Yes, Sarah. What's your question?" Sarah took a deep breath. She had heard rumors all week about Elon's past. Her sources at other magazines were all talking about the same thing. Someone from Elon's family was planning to speak out about something big. "Mr. Musk," Sarah said loudly so everyone could hear. "We've heard rumors that your ex-wife Justine Wilson Musk has something important to say about your past. Something she's never shared before. Do you have any comment?" The factory went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. All the workers, reporters, and engineers stared at Elon. His confident smile disappeared completely. He adjusted his black t-shirt and looked directly at the TV cameras. "I haven't spoken to Justine in months," he said. But his voice cracked slightly on the word months. "Whatever she wants to share is her business. I can't control what other people say." But everyone could tell something was wrong. Elon's hands were shaking just a little. His voice was quieter than usual. Marcus Thompson frowned from the back of the room. In 25 years of friendship, he had rarely seen Elon look scared. What could Justine possibly say that would make Elon react like this? Another reporter shouted out, "Is it true that she's doing an interview with 60 Minutes? Elon's phone buzzed again. This time he pulled it out and looked at the screen right there in front of everyone. His face went from pale to completely white. The message on his phone was short, but everyone could see him reading it. His lips moved slightly as he read the words to himself. Then, Elon looked up at the crowd of hundreds of people. Camera crews from CNN, Fox News, and NBC were all recording. This moment would be on the internet in minutes. "I'm sorry," Elon said suddenly. "I need to cut this short. Thank you all for coming. The Tesla 5000X battery is going to change the world. That's all I have to say today." He turned and walked quickly toward the exit, ignoring the reporters who were shouting questions at him. "Mr. Musk, what did the message say? Elon, are you worried about what Justine might reveal? Is this about your first marriage?" But Elon kept walking. His security team surrounded him as he reached the door. Sarah Chen was already typing notes on her phone. This was bigger than just a new battery announcement. Something was about to come out about Elon Musk's past. Something he clearly didn't want the world to know. Marcus Thompson watched his friend disappear through the exit door. He pulled out his own phone and sent a quick text. "Call me. We need to talk." The factory slowly emptied as people filed out, all talking about what they had just witnessed. The new battery was amazing news. But everyone was more interested in the mystery now. What was in that text message? What secret was Justine planning to reveal? And why did Elon Musk, the man who never backed down from anything, look so scared? Outside in the parking lot, Sarah Chen started her car and immediately called her editor. "Hey, it's Sarah. Cancel my other stories this week. I think we're about to get the biggest Elon Musk story ever." She drove away from the Gigafactory, but her mind was already racing ahead. Tomorrow, she would start digging into Elon and Justine's past. Something told her that whatever Justine was planning to say would change how the world saw Elon Musk forever. Back inside the empty factory, one person remained. A janitor named Pete was sweeping up the confetti and paper cups left behind by the crowd. He had worked at Tesla for 3 years and had seen Elon speak many times. "Never seen him run away like that," Pete muttered to himself as he pushed his broom across the floor. On the stage, Elon's presentation remote control still sat on the podium, forgotten in his rush to leave. The giant screen still showed the last slide, a picture of the new Tesla battery with the words, "The future is now," written across it in bold letters. But everyone who had been in that room knew the real story wasn't about batteries anymore. The future that was coming had nothing to do with electric cars or space rockets. The future was about secrets. And tomorrow, those secrets would start to come out. 3 days earlier, in a quiet house overlooking the Hollywood Hills, Justine Wilson Musk sat in her home office. The morning sun streamed through tall windows, lighting up the awards on her bookshelf. Her latest novel, Dragonhearts, had been on the New York Times bestseller list for 12 weeks. At 52, Justine had built a life she loved. She was married to David Chen, kind man who wrote travel books. They had been happy together for 10 years. Her writing career was better than she had ever dreamed. She should have felt peaceful. But peace was the last thing Justine felt as she stared at the business card on her desk. Rebecca Martinez, 60 Minutes producer, it read in simple black letters. Rebecca had called 3 weeks ago. "We're doing a documentary about the early days of Tesla and SpaceX," she had explained. "We'd love to interview you about what Elon was like back then. The struggles, the dreams, the person behind the headlines." Justine had said no immediately. She always said no to requests about Elon. For 17 years, she had kept their private life private. Even when reporters offered her huge amounts of money for tell-all interviews, she refused. But then Rebecca had said something that changed everything. Mrs. Chen, we've been talking to people who knew Elon in the early 2000s. Some things have come up that we think you should know about. Things that happened after your son, Nevada, died. Nevada. Just hearing his name still hurt. Even after 23 years. Justine picked up a framed photo from her desk. It showed her and Elon in 2002 standing outside their first apartment in Palo Alto. They looked so young and hopeful. Elon's arm was around her waist, and they were both smiling at the camera. But hidden behind that smile was the worst time of their lives. Nevada Alexander Musk, their first baby, died when he was just 10 weeks old. Sudden infant death syndrome, the doctor said. Nothing anyone could have done. The photo had been taken 2 weeks before Nevada was born. Before their world fell apart, Justine's phone rang, breaking her thoughts. The caller ID showed Dr. Lisa Rodriguez. Lisa had been Justine's therapist and closest friend since the divorce in Hey, Justine answered. You sound stressed, Lisa said immediately. What's going on? The 60 Minutes people called again yesterday. Lisa was quiet for a moment. And they know something, Lisa. About what happened after Nevada died. Something I never knew. Justine got up and walked to the window. Below, she could see the city of Los Angeles spreading out in all directions. Somewhere out there in a cemetery called Forest Lawn, Nevada was buried. She visited his grave every year on his birthday. What kind of something? Lisa asked gently. I don't know. That's what scares me. Justine sat back down and picked up Rebecca's business card again. But I think it's time I found out. Are you sure you're ready for this? Once you open that door, you can't close it again. Justine had been asking herself the same question for 3 weeks. Was she ready to dig up the past? Was she ready to possibly learn things about Elon that might change how she saw their entire marriage? But something else was pushing her forward. Something she hadn't told Lisa yet. There's more, Justine said quietly. I got a letter last month from a woman named Emily Wright. Who's Emily Wright? She says her grandfather knew Elon, that they met in 2003 right after Nevada died. She says her grandfather told her things about Elon that no one else knows. Justine walked to her filing cabinet and pulled out a handwritten letter. Emily Wright had beautiful penmanship, kind they don't teach in schools anymore. Emily says her grandfather felt bad about never telling me what really happened during those 3 days when Elon disappeared. Lisa's voice got more serious. What 3 days? You remember, in 2003, about a year after Nevada died, Elon and I had a huge fight about having more children. I wanted to try again. But he said he couldn't handle losing another baby. Then he just vanished for 3 days. When he came back, he seemed different. More focused on his work, less focused on us. I remember you telling me about that fight, but you never said he disappeared. I was embarrassed. What kind of wife doesn't know where her husband is for 3 days? Justine sat back down and stared at Emily's letter. I always thought he went to some hotel to think about our marriage. He said he spent the time thinking about Mars and how important it was to make humans a space-traveling species. But Emily Wright thinks something else happened? She thinks her grandfather knows the real story. And she thinks I deserve to know what it is. Justine set the letter down and picked up another photo. This one showed Elon holding baby Nevada in the hospital. Nevada looked so tiny in his father's big hands. Elon was whispering something to the baby. Probably one of his stories about rockets and planets. Lisa, what if there's more to Nevada's death than I knew? What if there's a reason Elon became so obsessed with changing the world after we lost him? Honey, grief makes people do strange things. You became a writer to escape into other worlds. Elon built rockets to escape to other planets. Different people, different coping methods. But what if it's more than that? Justine stood up and walked to her bookshelf. Among all her published novels sat one thin journal. She had written in it every day for the first year after Nevada died. She hadn't opened it in over a decade. I think I need to know the truth, she said finally. Not just for me, but for Nevada. If there's something about his death that I never understood, don't I owe it to him to find out? Lisa was quiet for a long time. Are you planning to do the interview? I called Rebecca this morning. We're meeting tomorrow to discuss it. Justine, I know it's risky. I know it might hurt Elon. I know it might hurt me too. But I've spent 17 years wondering why our marriage fell apart so completely after Nevada died. Why Elon became someone I didn't recognize. Maybe it's time I got some answers. That afternoon, Justine drove to Forest Lawn Memorial Park. She did this sometimes when she needed to think clearly. Nevada's grave was in a quiet section under a big oak tree. The headstone was simple: Nevada Alexander Musk, beloved. She sat on the small bench that she and Elon had placed there years ago. The brass plate on the bench read, "In memory of our little dreamer." "Hi, baby," she whispered to the headstone. "Mommy might be about to do something that changes everything. I hope you understand." A gentle breeze moved through the oak tree, making the leaves rustle softly. Justine always imagined that was Nevada's way of talking back to her. "The truth is, I think your daddy has been carrying secrets about you for a very long time. Secrets that have been eating him up inside. And maybe it's time those secrets came out." She pulled out her phone and dialed Rebecca Martinez's number. "Rebecca, it's Justine. I've made my decision. Let's schedule that interview." As she drove home, Justine felt scared and excited at the same time. Tomorrow, she would start learning things about her former husband that might change everything she thought she knew about their life together. But she also felt something else. For the first time in 23 years, she felt like she might finally understand why losing Nevada had turned Elon into a completely different person. The truth was out there, and tomorrow, she would start looking for it. Behind her, the sun was setting over the Hollywood Hills, painting the sky orange and pink. It looked like the sky was on fire. Justine took that as a good sign. Change was coming. For better or worse, the secrets were about to come out. At SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, Marcus Thompson stared at his computer screen. The numbers looked perfect. The next Mars mission was ready to launch in 6 months. Everything was going according to plan. But Marcus couldn't focus on rocket fuel calculations or launch windows. His mind kept going back to what he had seen at the Tesla press conference. Elon's face when that reporter asked about Justine. The fear in his friend's eyes. Marcus had known Elon for 31 years. They met as college freshmates at the University of Pennsylvania in 1992. Marcus was studying engineering, while Elon studied business and physics. They became roommates and best friends almost immediately. Marcus remembered everything about those early days. How Elon stayed up all night reading about space travel. How he dreamed of starting a company that would make humans a multi-planet species. How shy he was around girls. Until he met Justine. That was 1994. Elon had transferred to Queen's University in Canada, and Marcus visited him there during spring break. That's when he first saw Justine Wilson in the university library. She was 21, with long brown hair and bright eyes. She sat at a corner table, surrounded by books about mythology and fantasy stories. She wanted to be a writer someday. "Who's that?" Elon had whispered to Marcus. "I don't know, but you should go talk to her," Marcus whispered back. "I can't." "What would I say?" Marcus laughed, remembering. Elon Musk, the guy who would someday send rockets to Mars, was too nervous to talk to a girl in the library. It took Elon 3 weeks to work up the courage. But when he finally walked over to Justine's table, they talked for 4 hours. About books, about dreams, about changing the world. Marcus watched from across the library, smiling as his friend finally found someone who understood his big ideas. Elon and Justine were perfect together back then. They both believed they could do anything. Elon would lead spaceships, and Justine would write stories about heroes and dragons. They got married in 2000. 2 years after Elon sold his first company. Marcus was the best man at their wedding. He gave a speech about how Elon had found his co-pilot for the journey to the stars. Everyone laughed and cheered, but Marcus also remembered when everything changed. It was 2002 when Nevada was born. Marcus visited them at the hospital and held the tiny baby. Nevada was perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, bright eyes just like his mother's. "He's going to be an astronaut," Elon had said proudly. "I can already tell." 10 weeks later, Nevada was gone. Marcus flew to California immediately when he got Elon's call. His friend's voice was flat and broken. "Nevada died this morning. SIDS. The doctors say there was nothing we could do." The funeral was the hardest day of Marcus's life. And he wasn't even the parent. He watched Elon and Justine hold each other and cry. He saw how losing their baby broke something inside both of them. But what happened next was even worse. For months after Nevada's death, Elon threw himself into work. He barely slept. He barely ate. He started 3 new companies and worked 18 hours a day. Justine tried to get him to slow down, to grieve properly, but Elon wouldn't listen. "I have to keep moving," Elon told Marcus during one late-night phone call. "If I stop, I'll fall apart." Then came the fight. March 2003, almost a year after Nevada died. Marcus got a panicked call from Justine. "Elon's gone," she said through tears. "We had a huge argument about having another baby. I said we should try again, but he said he couldn't handle losing another child. Then he just left. He won't answer his phone." Marcus searched everywhere. Elon wasn't at any of his offices. He wasn't at his favorite restaurants. His car was missing, but his credit cards weren't being used. For 3 days, Elon Musk had vanished completely. When Elon finally came home, he was different. Calmer in some ways, but also more distant. More obsessed with his work than ever before. "Where were you?" Marcus had asked. "Thinking," Elon replied. "About Nevada. About Mars. About what really matters." "That's not an answer. It's the only answer I can give you right now." But Marcus knew his friend too well. Something specific had happened during those 3 days. Something that changed Elon's entire approach to life and business. Within 6 months, Elon had started SpaceX. His mission wasn't just about exploring space anymore. It was about making humans a backup species. About ensuring that life would survive even if Earth didn't. "We have to get to Mars," Elon said obsessively. "We have to make sure human consciousness survives." Marcus supported his friend's dream, but he always wondered what had triggered such urgency. Why did getting to Mars suddenly feel like a life-or-death mission? Now sitting in his SpaceX office 22 years later, Marcus was pretty sure he was about to tune out. His phone buzzed with a text from Elon. "Can we talk? Not about work." Marcus immediately called him back. "Hey man, you okay? That press conference looked rough." Elon's voice sounded tired. "Justine's doing an interview with 60 Minutes. It's Sunday." "About what?" "About Nevada. About us. About us. About things I thought would stay buried forever." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "What kind of things?" "The kind that explain why I started SpaceX. The kind that explain why getting to Mars isn't just a business plan for me." "Elon, you've never told me the real reason you disappeared for 3 days." Even after 30 years of friendship, there was a long pause, because I was ashamed. Because what I found out during those 3 days made me realize I had failed my son in ways I never imagined. "What do you mean?" "I mean that Nevada might still be alive if I had been smarter. If I had pushed harder. If I had been the kind of father who could save his child." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Elon, SIDS isn't anyone's fault. You know that." "Is it? Are you sure about that?" Another long pause. Marcus could hear Elon breathing on the other end of the line. "Marcus, what if I told you that there might have been treatments available? Experimental therapies that could have helped Nevada? What if I told you that I found out about them too late? I'd say you're torturing yourself with what-ifs. And what if I told you that someone tried to tell us about those treatments, but died before they could?" Marcus sat up straight. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about Dr. Amanda Foster, Nevada's pediatrician. She died in a car accident 2 months after Nevada did. But before she died, she left me something. Something that changed everything I thought I knew about my son's death." Marcus's mind raced. Dr. Foster, he remembered her from the hospital. A kind woman in her 50s who had tried so hard to save Nevada. What did she leave you? The truth about what she wanted to tell us but never got the chance. About experimental treatments that might have saved Nevada's life. And that's what you found during those 3 days you disappeared? That's where it started. But there's more. Much more. Marcus looked out his office window at the rockets being built in the factory below. Suddenly everything made sense. The urgency. The obsession with Mars. The desperate need to push technology forward as fast as possible. "Elon, all these years you've been trying to build a world where other parents don't lose their children the way you lost Nevada. Every rocket we launch carries that hope. Marcus, every mission to Mars is about creating a backup plan for humanity. Because if we can survive as a species, if we can spread life across multiple planets, then maybe other families won't have to go through what Justine and I went through. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. His friend had been carrying this weight alone for over 20 years. And now Justine's gonna tell the world? I don't know how much she knows. But if someone's been talking to her about Dr. Foster, about those 3 days, then yeah, she's going to tell them everything. Are you scared? Elon was quiet for a moment. Terrified. Not for me, but for Nevada's memory. What if people think I'm crazy? What if they think the whole Mars mission is just some rich guy's way of dealing with grief? Is it? Another pause. Partly yes. But that doesn't make it wrong, does it? Sometimes the best things we do come from the worst things that happen to us. Marcus nodded, even though Elon couldn't see him. No, it doesn't make it wrong, it makes it human. After they hung up, Marcus sat in his office for a long time, thinking about friendship and loss, and the secrets people carry. Outside his window, the sun was setting over the Pacific Ocean, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Tomorrow, the whole world might learn that SpaceX wasn't just about exploration and adventure. It was about love and loss, and a father's promise to a child who died too soon. Marcus picked up his phone and sent a text to his own kids. Love you both. See you for dinner tonight. Some secrets he thought were too important to keep forever. The 60-minute studio in New York felt colder than usual. Rebecca Martinez checked her notes one final time as the camera crew made last-minute adjustments to the lighting. This wasn't just another interview. This could be the story that changed everything people thought they knew about Elon Musk. Across from Rebecca, Justine Wilson Musk sat in a comfortable chair. She wore a simple blue dress, and her wedding ring from her marriage to David Chen. Her hands trembled slightly as she smoothed her skirt. Are you ready? Rebecca asked gently. Justine nodded. I've been ready for 23 years. I just didn't know it until now. The red light on camera 1 blinked on. Rebecca looked directly into the lens. Good evening. I'm Rebecca Martinez. Tonight on 60 Minutes, we have an exclusive interview with Justine Wilson Musk, the first wife of billionaire Elon Musk. For 17 years, she has remained silent about their marriage and the tragedy that tore them apart. Tonight, she breaks that silence with revelations that could change how the world sees one of its most famous entrepreneurs. Rebecca turned to Justine. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Justine replied softly. Justine, you were married to Elon Musk from 2000 to 2008. You shared his early struggles and his first big successes. Why have you never spoken publicly about this before? Justine took a deep breath. Because some pain is too private to share, and because I thought staying quiet was protecting my family. But I realized recently that staying silent might be hurting more people than speaking up ever could. What changed your mind? Someone contacted me. Someone who knew things about my first son's death that I never knew. Things that made me understand why Elon became the person he is today. Rebecca leaned forward. Tell us about Nevada. Justine's eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed strong. Nevada Alexander Musk was born on May 4, 2002. He was perfect, 10 fingers, 10 toes. The most beautiful baby you've ever seen. Elon was so proud. He would hold Nevada and tell him stories about rockets and space stations and living on Mars someday. She paused to wipe her eyes. But when Nevada was 6 weeks old, we knew something was wrong. He wasn't developing like other babies. He seemed sleepy all the time. He had trouble eating. What did the doctors say? At first they said he was fine, just a slow developer. But I knew. Mothers know when something isn't right with their babies. Rebecca waited patiently as Justine collected herself. We took him to our pediatrician, Dr. Amanda Foster. She was wonderful, kind and smart, and really listened to our concerns. She ran some tests. What did the tests show? They found a rare genetic condition, something that affected how Nevada's brain was developing. Dr. Foster was very gentle when she told us, but the message was clear. Nevada wouldn't live a normal life. He might not live past his first birthday. The camera zoomed in on Justine's face as she continued. But Elon refused to accept it. He spent hours researching Nevada's condition online. He called doctors all over the world. He was convinced that someone, somewhere, had to have a treatment or a cure. How did you feel about that? Part of me was grateful that Elon was fighting so hard. But part of me just wanted to enjoy whatever time we had with our baby. I wanted to hold him and love him and make his short life as happy as possible. Rebecca checked her notes. Nevada died when he was 10 weeks old. Can you tell us about that day? Justine closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, tears were streaming down her face. It was October 28, 2002. Nevada had been having more trouble breathing. We rushed him to the hospital, but by the time we got there, she couldn't finish the sentence. The doctors said it was SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. They said there was nothing anyone could have done. But that wasn't true. Rebecca's eyebrows raised. What do you mean? That's what I didn't know until recently. Dr. Foster wanted to tell us something before Nevada died. Something important. But she never got the chance. What was she going to tell you? Justine reached into her purse and pulled out a letter. The paper looked old and had been read many times. This letter was written by Dr. Foster, but I only received it last month. It was given to me by Emily Wright, whose grandfather knew Elon after Nevada died. Rebecca looked confused. How did Emily Wright get a letter meant for you? Because Dr. Foster never had the chance to give it to us directly. She died in a car accident 2 months after Nevada died. But before she died, she gave this letter to someone she trusted. Someone who was supposed to give it to Elon when he was ready to read it. And that person was Emily Wright's grandfather, Professor James Wright. He was 78 years old in 2003, a retired rocket scientist who worked on the Apollo moon missions. Rebecca leaned back in her chair. How did Dr. Foster know Professor Wright? She didn't. They met by chance at Nevada's grave in 2003. Elon was there and he was broken. Professor Wright was visiting his wife's grave nearby. He saw Elon crying and sat with him. And Dr. Foster had asked Professor Wright to give Elon this letter? No. Professor Wright found the letter at Nevada's grave. Dr. Foster had hidden it there in a waterproof container. She hoped that someday when Elon was ready, he would find it. Rebecca looked at the letter in Justine's hands. Have you read it? Yes. And it explains everything. Why Elon disappeared for 3 days in 2003. Why he started SpaceX. Why he's so desperate to get humans to Mars. What does the letter say? Justine unfolded the letter carefully. Her hands were shaking as she read. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Musk, if you are reading this, then I am probably gone, and I pray that enough time has passed for you to hear what I should have told you while Nevada was alive. She paused, looking up at Rebecca. Should I continue? Please. Justine's voice got quieter as she read. There was an experimental treatment being developed in Germany. A gene therapy that might have helped Nevada. I wanted to discuss it with you, but I was scared of giving you false hope. The treatment was still in trials. It was risky. Most babies who tried it didn't survive. Rebecca interrupted. Dr. Foster was considering an experimental treatment for Nevada. Yes, but she never told us about it because she was afraid. Afraid it might not work. Afraid we might blame her if Nevada died during the treatment. Justine continued reading. I don't know if the treatment would have saved Nevada, but I will go to my grave wondering if I should have been braver. If I should have given you the choice. Your son might have lived if I had spoken up sooner. I am so very sorry. The studio was completely silent except for the quiet hum of the cameras. That letter changed everything for Elon, Justine said. It made him realize that Nevada might have lived if medical technology had been more advanced, if doctors had been braver about trying new treatments, if the world had been pushing harder to solve impossible problems. Rebecca nodded slowly. And that's why he started SpaceX? Not just SpaceX. Everything Elon has done since Nevada died has been about pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Tesla makes electric cars to create a cleaner world for future children. SpaceX is trying to make humans a multi-planet species, so that no disaster can wipe out all of humanity at once. You're saying that Elon's entire career has been motivated by losing Nevada? Justine looked directly into the camera. Every rocket that launches carries Nevada's spirit with it. Every Tesla that rolls off the production line is Elon's way of building a better world for children like Nevada. My ex-husband isn't trying to save humanity just because it's a good business plan. She paused, her voice breaking with emotion. He's trying to save humanity because he couldn't save his son. Rebecca leaned forward. But there's more to this story, isn't there? You mentioned that Professor Wright met Elon at Nevada's grave. What happened during that meeting? Justine smiled through her tears. That's where the real story begins. Because Professor Wright didn't just comfort a grieving father, he gave Elon something that changed his life forever. What was that? Hope. And a promise. A promise that Nevada's death wouldn't be meaningless if Elon could use his pain to help other families. Rebecca checked the time. When we come back, Justine will tell us about the conversation that launched Elon Musk's space program, and how a promise made to a dying child became a mission to save humanity. The cameras stopped rolling. During the commercial break, Justine wiped her eyes and took a sip of water. "You're doing great," Rebecca said softly. "Are you ready to tell them about the promise?" Justine nodded. The world needs to know why Elon pushes so hard. It's not about money or fame. It's about love. And it's about making sure no other parent has to wonder what if the way we did. The red light came back on. The second half of the interview was about to begin. But across the country in Austin, Texas, Elon Musk had stopped watching. His phone was buzzing with calls from reporters, but he wasn't answering. Instead, he was driving to the airport. He had a plane to catch. He was going to Los Angeles, to a cemetery called Forest Lawn. It was time to visit his son. The private jet flew through the dark sky over Arizona. Elon sat alone in the cabin, staring out the window at the lights below. He had watched the first half of Justine's 60 Minutes interview on his phone before boarding the plane. Now he felt like his whole world was falling apart. For 23 years, he had kept the truth about Nevada buried deep inside. Only a few people knew the real story. Marcus, his brother Kimball, Professor Wright, who had died 5 years ago. But now Justine was telling the world. And she didn't even know the whole truth yet. Elon's phone buzzed with another call from a reporter. He turned it off and closed his eyes. In 2 hours, he would land in Los Angeles. Then he would drive to Forest Lawn Memorial Park, where his son was buried. He hadn't been to Nevada's grave in over a year. Work always seemed more important. There was another rocket to launch, another car to design, another problem to solve. But tonight, nothing seemed more important than sitting with his son and remembering what this was all about. The plane landed at LAX at 11 p.m. Elon drove his Tesla Model S through the empty streets of Los Angeles. The city looked different at night, quieter, more peaceful, like it was keeping secrets of its own. Forest Lawn was closed, but Elon knew the security guard. He had visited late at night before, especially in the early years after Nevada died. "Evening, Mr. Musk," the guard said as Elon pulled up to the gate. "Going to see your boy?" "Yeah, Charlie. Thanks." The cemetery was dark except for a few streetlights along the main road. Elon parked near the oak tree where Nevada was buried and walked slowly to the small headstone. Nevada Alexander Musk, beloved son. Elon sat on the bench that he and Justine had placed there years ago. The brass plate on the bench read, "In memory of our little dreamer." "Hi, buddy," Elon whispered to the headstone. "Your mom's telling our story on TV. The one I never wanted anyone to know." A gentle breeze moved through the oak tree. Elon had always imagined that was Nevada's way of answering him. She told them about Dr. Foster's letter, about how you might have lived if we had known about the experimental treatments. Elon pulled out his phone and called his brother Kimball in Colorado. "Did you see it?" Elon asked when Kimball answered. "Yeah, I saw it. Are you okay?" "I'm at Nevada's grave. Just like that night in 2." Kimball was quiet for a moment. "Is she going to talk about Professor Wright?" "I think so. She mentioned him in the interview." "Elon, maybe it's time. Maybe people need to know why you really started SpaceX." Elon looked up at the stars. On a clear night like this, you could see Mars as a tiny red dot in the sky. He had been staring at that dot for over 20 years, dreaming of the day humans would walk on its surface. I don't know if I'm ready for everyone to know," Elon said. "What if they think I'm crazy? What if they think the whole Mars mission is just some rich guy's way of dealing with grief? Is it?" Elon thought about that question. It was the same one Marcus had asked him earlier. Partly, yes. But that doesn't make it wrong, does it? No, it doesn't. Some of the best things humans have ever done came from the worst things that happened to them. After hanging up with Kimball, Elon sat alone with his thoughts. He remembered the night in 2003 when everything changed. when he found Dr. Foster's letter hidden by Nevada's grave. When Professor Wright sat with him and listened to him cry about failing his son. But there was more to that story. Something that Justine didn't know because Elon had never told anyone except Kimball and Professor Wright. The letter from Dr. Foster wasn't the only thing hidden by Nevada's grave. That night in 2003, after Professor Wright left, Elon had stayed at the cemetery until sunrise. He was digging around the base of the oak tree, looking for anything else Dr. Foster might have left behind. And he found something. A small metal box, buried 6 inches deep in the soft earth. Inside the box was a flash drive. And another note from Dr. Foster. The flash drive contained research files about the experimental gene therapy, studies from Germany, test results from other children who had Nevada's condition, treatment protocols that might have saved his son's life. But the note was what broke Elon's heart all over again. Mr. Musk. It read, "If you're reading this, then you found what I was too scared to show you while Nevada was alive. The research on this flash drive proves that the German treatment had a 60% success rate. 6 out of 10 children lived. Your son might have been one of them if I had been braver. I know you will blame yourself for not pushing harder, but the real blame lies with me for not giving you the choice. I pray that someday you can forgive both of us. Use this research to help other families. Don't let my cowardice mean that other children die unnecessarily. Dr. Amanda Foster." Elon had read that note 1,000 times over the years. He kept it in his office safe, along with the flash drive containing all of Dr. Foster's research. That research had been the real foundation for everything that came after. Not just SpaceX, but Tesla's medical research division. The Neuralink project to help people with brain injuries. The solar panel company to create cleaner air for children with breathing problems. Every company Elon started was really about the same thing, making sure other parents didn't have to go through what he and Justine went through. But there was one more secret. One that Elon had never told anyone, not even Kimball. The night he found Dr. Foster's research, Elon made a promise to Nevada. He knelt by the headstone and swore an oath that would guide the rest of his life. "I promise you, buddy," he had whispered, "that I will use this pain to help other children. I will push technology forward so fast that no parent ever has to wonder what if the way I do. And if I can't save you, I will save as many other kids as I can." But then Elon had made an even bigger promise. "And someday, I will take you with me to Mars. Even if it's just your memory or spirit, your dreams. You will be the first child to reach another planet, just like we talked about when you were a baby." That's why the first Mars mission was so important to Elon. It wasn't just about making humans a multi-planet species. It was about keeping a promise to his son. The first Mars colony would be called New Nevada. Elon had never told anyone about that plan. The SpaceX engineers thought it was just a coincidence that all the Mars habitat designs included a children's medical center. They didn't know that Elon had been planning from the beginning to make Mars the safest place in the solar system for children to be born. Now, sitting by Nevada's grave 22 years later, Elon wondered if it was time to tell the world about his real mission. His phone buzzed with a text message. It was from an unknown number. "Mr. Musk, this is Emily Wright, Professor Wright's granddaughter. I'm the one who gave Justine the letter from Dr. Foster. We need to talk. There's more to the story that even you don't know." Elon stared at the text. More to the story? What could Emily Wright possibly know that he didn't? He typed back, "What do you mean?" The response came immediately. "My grandfather didn't just comfort you that night in 2003. He took something from Nevada's grave. Something Dr. Foster left for you. Something you never found." Elon's heart started beating faster. "What are you talking about?" The second letter. One that explains why Dr. Foster was really at the cemetery that night. "She wasn't just leaving research for you, Mr. Musk. She was saying goodbye." Goodbye to who? To her own son. He's buried 3 graves away from Nevada. He died of the same condition 2 years earlier. Dr. Foster spent every night at the cemetery wondering if she could have saved him too. Elon felt like the world was spinning around him. Dr. Foster had lost a child too? She understood exactly what he and Justine were going through because she had been through it herself. "Where is this second letter?" he typed. "I have it, and I think it's time you read it. It explains why my grandfather spent the last 20 years of his life helping you build SpaceX. Why he believed so strongly in your mission to Mars." "Your grandfather helped build SpaceX?" He was your secret investor, Mr. Musk. The anonymous donor who gave you $50 million when the company almost went bankrupt in 2008. He never wanted credit. He just wanted to help you keep your promise to Nevada. Elon stood up from the bench, his legs shaking. Professor Wright had saved SpaceX. The kind old man who had comforted him at Nevada's grave had secretly been funding his space program. "We need to meet," he typed. "Tomorrow. I'll be on the next flight to Los Angeles." "There's something else, Mr. Musk. Something my grandfather asked me to tell you when the time was right." "What?" "Nevada wasn't the only child you inspired him to help. Over the past 20 years, the medical research funded by your companies has saved over 3,000 children's lives. Children with the same condition Nevada had. Foster's research, combined with your technology, finally created the cure she always dreamed of." Elon sat back down hard on the bench. 3,000 children. 3,000 families who didn't have to go through what he and Justine went through. Nevada's death had saved 3,000 other children. Elon looked up at the stars again. But this time, they looked different. Brighter. More hopeful. "You did it, buddy," he whispered to the headstone. "You saved them." As he drove home through the empty streets of Los Angeles, Elon made a decision. Tomorrow, after he met with Emily Wright, he would call his own press conference. It was time to tell the world the whole truth about Nevada, about SpaceX, and about the promise that had guided his life for over 20 years. Some secrets were too important to keep forever, and some promises were too beautiful to hide. Sunday night arrived like a storm. Everyone could see coming. Across America, 15 million people gathered around their televisions for the most anticipated 60 Minutes episode in 5 years. Social media buzzed with predictions about what Justine would reveal. News channels ran countdown clocks. The whole world seemed to hold its breath. In Austin, Texas, Elon sat in his home office, surrounded by photos of all his children. Nevada's baby picture sat in the center of his desk. He had decided not to watch the interview live. Whatever Justine said tonight would change his life forever. He wanted to hear it from her first, not from television. His phone was already buzzing with calls from reporters, but he ignored them all. In Los Angeles, Marcus Thompson sat with his family in their living room. His wife Sarah held his hand as the familiar 60 Minutes clock appeared on screen. Their 2 teenage kids had never heard the full story about Nevada. Tonight they would learn why their dad's best friend worked so hard to reach Mars. At Forest Lawn Memorial Park, a security guard named Charlie walked past Nevada's grave during his evening rounds. He noticed fresh flowers by the headstone, white roses that Elon had left the night before. Charlie said a quiet prayer for the little boy he had never met, but somehow felt connected to after all these years. The 60 Minutes theme music played as Rebecca Martinez appeared on screen. "Good evening. I'm Rebecca Martinez. Tonight, we conclude our exclusive interview with Justine Wilson Musk, first wife of billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk. In the first half of our conversation, Justine revealed that a hidden letter from her deceased son's doctor changed everything her former husband believed about their child's death." Rebecca paused as the camera showed a photo of baby Nevada in Elon's arms. What you're about to hear has never been reported before. It's a story about love, loss, and the lengths one man will go to honor a promise made to his dying child. The screen cut to Justine, sitting calmly in her chair. She looked more peaceful than she had in the first part of the interview. "Justine," Rebecca began, "before the break, you told us about Dr. Foster's letter and how it revealed that experimental treatments might have saved Nevada's life. You also mentioned Professor James Wright, who met your ex-husband at Nevada's grave in 2003. Tell us about that meeting." Justine smiled softly. Professor Wright was 78 years old then, a retired aerospace engineer who had worked on the Apollo missions that took humans to the moon. He was visiting his wife's grave when he saw Elon crying by Nevada's headstone. What happened next? Professor Wright sat with Elon for 3 hours that night. Elon told him everything about Nevada's death, about Dr. Foster's letter, about how guilty he felt for not being able to save his son. Rebecca leaned forward. "How do you know all this? You said Elon never told you about finding the letter." "Because Professor Wright's granddaughter, Emily, contacted me last month. Her grandfather kept detailed journals about his friendship with Elon. Emily felt I deserved to know the whole story." "What did Professor Wright's journals say?" Justine pulled out a small notebook with a worn leather cover. Professor Wright wrote about that night in 2003. He said he had never met anyone carrying so much pain and guilt. But he also saw something else in Elon. What was that? Hope. Determination. A father's love that was so strong it could move mountains, or in this case, move humanity to another planet. Rebecca looked confused. I don't understand the connection. Justine opened the journal and read directly from Professor Wright's handwriting. Young Musk told me about his dreams of space travel. But tonight I realized they're not really about exploration. They're about salvation. He wants to create a backup plan for humanity because he couldn't create a backup plan for his son. She looked up at the camera. That's when Professor Wright understood that Elon wasn't just a grieving father. He was a man with a mission that could change the future of human civilization. What did Professor Wright tell Elon that night? Justine turned the page in the journal. He told Elon something that changed his life forever. He said, "Son, you can spend your life looking backward at what you couldn't save, or you can spend it looking forward at what you might save tomorrow. Your boy is gone, but there are millions of children who aren't born yet. What are you going to do for them?" The camera zoomed in on Justine's face as she continued. But then Professor Wright said something even more important. He said, "If you're serious about honoring your son's memory, then make sure his death saves other children. Use your guilt to fuel something beautiful. Use your pain to build something that matters." Rebecca sat back in her chair. And that conversation led to the founding of SpaceX? Not just SpaceX. Everything Elon has done since that night has been about building a safer world for children. Tesla makes electric cars to reduce air pollution that hurts kids with breathing problems. The solar panel company creates clean energy so future generations inherit a healthier planet. Neuralink helps children with brain injuries. But the Mars mission is special, isn't it? Justine nodded, tears forming in her eyes. Mars was always Nevada's favorite planet. When he was a tiny baby, Elon would hold him and point at the red dot in the sky. He would tell Nevada stories about brave astronauts who traveled to Mars to build a new home for humanity. She paused, wiping her eyes. After Nevada died, those bedtime stories became Elon's blueprint for the future. Every rocket that launches carries a piece of Nevada's spirit with it. Rebecca looked down at her notes. Justine, there's something else Professor Wright told Elon that night, isn't there? Something about a promise? Justine smiled through her tears. Yes. Professor Wright made Elon promise 3 things. First, that he would never give up on the Mars mission, no matter how many rockets exploded or how much money he lost. Second, that he would use his wealth and intelligence to help other families avoid the pain he was feeling. And the third promise? That someday, when humans finally reached Mars, Nevada would be the first child to set foot on another planet. Rebecca looked puzzled. But Nevada died in 2002. How could he be the first child on Mars? Justine reached into her purse and pulled out a small silver container about the size of a pill bottle. Because Elon is taking him along. The camera focused on the container in Justine's hands. This contains some of Nevada's ashes. Elon has carried it with him for 23 years. It goes with him to every rocket launch, every important meeting, every major milestone in his companies. Rebecca's voice was barely a whisper. And it's going Mars. The first Mars mission will carry a special capsule containing items from Earth that represent humanity's hopes for the future. Nevada's ashes will be in that capsule, along with his favorite toy, a small stuffed elephant named Cosmos. She held up a photo of baby Nevada, holding a gray stuffed elephant. When humans land on Mars and start building the first permanent settlement, Nevada will be there with them. He'll finally get to see the red planet his daddy told him so many stories about. The studio was completely silent except for the quiet whir of the cameras. So Elon's entire space program, Rebecca said slowly, is really about keeping a bedtime story promise to his dead son? It's about more than that, Justine replied. It's about turning the worst thing that can happen to parents into the best thing that can happen to humanity. It's about making sure Nevada's short life had meaning that will last forever. Rebecca checked her notes one final time. Justine, why are you telling this story now, after 17 years of silence? Justine looked directly into the camera, speaking to the millions of people watching. Because I realized that Elon has been carrying this weight alone for too long. Because other parents who have lost children need to know that their pain can become purpose. And because the world deserves to understand that behind every great achievement is usually a broken heart trying to heal. She paused, her voice growing stronger. But mostly because I think Nevada would want people to know that his daddy kept his promise, that the little boy who never got to grow up inspired a mission that might save all of humanity. The camera pulled back to show both women sitting in the studio. When we come back, Rebecca announced, Justine will tell us about Elon's reaction to tonight's revelations and what this means for the future of space exploration. But the commercial break never came. Instead, the screen suddenly cut to a special news bulletin. This is CBS News with a breaking story. We've just learned that Elon Musk is holding an emergency press conference at SpaceX headquarters in exactly 1 hour. Sources tell us that Musk watched tonight's 60 Minutes interview and has decided to make a major announcement about the Mars mission. The news anchor looked directly into the camera. We'll be taking you live to that press conference, where the man himself will respond to his ex-wife's stunning revelations about their son Nevada and the real motivation behind humanity's journey to Mars. In Austin, Elon turned off his television and picked up his car keys. His private jet was already waiting at the airport. It was time to tell his side of the story. By Monday morning, the world had exploded. Every news channel led with the same story. Every social media platform buzzed with the same hashtag Nevada promise. The 60 Minutes interview had been watched by more people than the Super Bowl, but the reactions were split down the middle. Half the world thought Elon's dedication to Nevada was the most beautiful love story they had ever heard. Comments flooded in from parents who had lost children, saying they finally understood why Elon pushed so hard to change the world. The other half thought it was unhealthy. Psychologists appeared on morning talk shows arguing that Elon was using his wealth to avoid dealing with his grief properly. Sarah Chen sat in the Tech Today newsroom in San Francisco fielding calls from news outlets around the world. Everyone wanted to interview the reporter who had first asked about Justine's statement at the Tesla press conference. It's crazy, Sarah told her editor. I asked one simple question, and now it's the biggest story of the year. But Sarah knew something the other reporters didn't. She had been digging into Elon's past for weeks before that press conference. She had contacts at SpaceX who had noticed strange things over the years. Design choices that didn't make business sense. Research projects that seemed more personal than profitable. Her phone rang. The caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize. This is Sarah Chen. Ms. Chen, this is Emily Wright. I'm the one who gave Justine the letter from Dr. Foster. Sarah grabbed a pen and notebook. I've been trying to reach you for days. Can we That's why I'm calling, but not on the phone. Can you meet me in Los Angeles? There are things about this story that haven't come out yet. Things that will change everything people think they know about Elon Musk. Sarah was already reaching for her car keys. When and where? Forest Lawn Memorial Park. Nevada's grave. 1 hour. The line went dead. Meanwhile, at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, Marcus Thompson was dealing with his own crisis. The phone hadn't stopped ringing since the 60 Minutes interview aired. Reporters wanted to know if he had known about Nevada's connection to the Mars mission. Investors wanted to know if SpaceX was really a space company or just an expensive therapy project. But Marcus was more worried about his friend than about the media storm. He had tried calling Elon 6 times since last night. Every call went straight to voicemail. Elon's assistant said he was unavailable for comment. His security team wouldn't say where he was. Marcus knew Elon better than anyone. When his friend disappeared like this, it usually meant he was either having a breakdown or planning something big. Marcus's office door opened without a knock. Kimball Musk walked in, looking exhausted. Elon's younger brother had driven all night from Colorado. Have you heard from him? Kimball asked. Nothing. Kimball sat down heavily in the chair across from Marcus's desk. He called me at 3 a.m., said he was going to tell everyone the truth. The whole truth. Marcus felt his stomach drop. What does that mean? It means he's going to tell them about the other letter. What other letter? Kimball looked surprised. You don't know? I thought Elon told you everything. Told me what? Kimball ran his hands through his hair. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. The letter from Dr. Foster wasn't the only thing Elon found at Nevada's grave. There was something else. Something that explains why he's been so obsessed with Mars for 20 years. Marcus leaned forward. What kind of something? A second letter. From Dr. Foster to Nevada. To Nevada? But Nevada was dead. Exactly. It was a letter she never got to give him before he died. A letter that explains why she felt so guilty about not mentioning the experimental treatments. Marcus felt confused. I don't understand. Kimball pulled out his phone and showed Marcus a photo of a handwritten letter. Dr. Foster had a son named Michael. He died 2 years before Nevada from the same genetic condition. She tried the experimental treatment from Germany with Michael, but it didn't work. He died during the procedure. Marcus read the letter on Kimball's phone screen. It was addressed to Sweet Nevada in Dr. Foster's handwriting. My dear boy, it read, by the time someone finds this letter, you will be with the angels just like my Michael. I wanted to tell your parents about the treatment that might have saved you, but I was scared. I was scared because the same treatment killed my son. I know your daddy will blame himself for not trying harder to save you, but I want you to know that some of us are beyond saving, no matter how hard people try. Your daddy's job now is not to save you, but to save other children, to make sure what happened to you and Michael never happens to other babies. Tell your daddy that guilt is a poison, but purpose is medicine. Tell him to use his pain to build something beautiful for other families. I will see you and Michael in heaven someday. Until then, dream of the stars your daddy told you about. Love, Dr. Foster. Marcus stared at the phone screen. Elon found this letter 22 years ago and never told me. He never told anyone except me and Professor Wright. He was ashamed that Dr. Foster thought he would blame himself. He was ashamed that she was right. But this letter doesn't make Elon look bad. If anything, it makes Dr. Foster's decision more understandable. Kimball nodded. That's not the part Elon was ashamed of. Then what? After Elon read that letter, he tracked down Dr. Foster's son Michael, found his grave, started visiting both Nevada and Michael every week. Marcus was starting to understand. He felt responsible for Michael too. Worse than that, he started researching Michael's case. Found out that the experimental treatment had been improved since Michael died. If Michael had been treated 6 months later, he probably would have lived. And if Nevada had been treated, Nevada definitely would have lived. The treatment that failed with Michael was perfected by the time Nevada got sick. Dr. Foster knew this, but she was too traumatized by losing Michael to suggest it. Marcus sat back in his chair. So Elon has been carrying guilt, not just about Nevada, but about Michael too. And about every child who has died from that condition since 2002, in Elon's mind, every delay in developing better treatments, every setback in medical research, every day that passed without a cure was another child he failed to save. That's why he works 18 hours a day. That's why he's trying to get to Mars so fast. He believes that if humans become a spacefaring species, we'll develop medical technology faster. Colonies on other planets will force us to solve problems we've never solved before. Marcus finally understood his friend's urgency. It wasn't just about honoring Nevada anymore. It was about saving every child who would ever face what Nevada and Michael faced. Why didn't he tell me? Marcus asked. Because he knew what you would say. The same thing everyone says when they find out about this, that it's not his fault, that he can't save every child in the world, that he needs to heal, instead of just working harder. Because those things are true, are they? Look at what Elon has accomplished in 20 years. Tesla has revolutionized transportation and energy. SpaceX has made space travel affordable. Neuralink is helping people with brain injuries. The medical research funded by his companies has saved thousands of children. Kimball stood up and walked to the window overlooking the SpaceX factory floor. Maybe Elon's refusal to heal is exactly what the world needed. Maybe his guilt is the fuel that's driving humanity forward. Marcus joined Kimball at the window. Below them, engineers were working on the rocket that would carry the first humans to Mars. If everything went according to plan, that rocket would launch in 6 months. Do you think he's really going to tell everyone about Michael in the second letter? Marcus asked. I think he's going to tell them everything. About Professor Wright secretly funding SpaceX. About the 3,000 children his medical research has saved. About his plan to name the Mars colony New Nevada. And about the second letter, Kimball's phone buzzed with a text message. He looked at the screen and smiled. I don't think he'll need to. Someone else is about to do it for him. He showed Marcus the text. Turn on Channel 7 News. Now, they rushed back to Marcus's desk and turned on the TV. A reporter was standing outside Forest Lawn Memorial Park with Sarah Chen from Tech Today. This is Channel 7 News with a breaking story, the reporter announced. We're here with Sarah Chen. the journalist who first asked Elon Musk about his ex-wife's statement. "Sarah, you've just returned from meeting with Emily Wright, granddaughter of the man who helped inspire Elon's space program. What did she tell you?" Sarah looked directly into the camera. "Emily Wright gave me something that changes this entire story. Second letter from Dr. Foster that Elon Musk found 22 years ago but has never revealed to the public. A letter that explains not just why he started SpaceX, but why he's been working with such desperate urgency for over 2 decades. The camera zoomed in on Sarah's face. This letter reveals that Elon Musk has been carrying guilt, not just about his own son, but about another child. A child whose death could have been prevented if medical technology had advanced just 6 months faster. Marcus and Kimball stared at the TV screen. The letter also reveals, Sarah continued, that Professor Wright wasn't just a kind stranger who comforted a grieving father. He was a secret partner in Elon's mission, providing millions of dollars in funding and scientific expertise to help build the rockets that will carry humanity to Mars. The reporter leaned closer to Sarah. "Are you saying that Elon Musk's space program has been hiding its true origins for over 20 years? "I'm saying that the story we heard on 60 Minutes last night was just the beginning. The real story is about a man who turned personal tragedy into a mission to save not just humanity's future, but humanity's children." Sarah held up a photo of 2 small graves side by side. Nevada Musk and Michael Foster are buried just 50 yards apart in this cemetery. For 22 years, Elon Musk has been visiting both graves, carrying the weight of both children's deaths, working to ensure that no other parent goes through what he and Dr. Foster went through. The TV screen split to show archive footage of SpaceX rocket launches. "Every rocket you see launching," Sarah said, "carries the dreams of 2 little boys who never got to grow up. And according to Emily Wright, when humans finally reach Mars, both Nevada and Michael will be there with them." Marcus turned off the TV and looked at Kimball. "Now what?" he asked. Kimball smiled grimly. "Now Elon comes home and faces the music. The whole world knows his secret. There's nowhere left to hide." As if on cue, both of their phones buzzed with the same message from Elon. "Press conference at SpaceX in 2 hours. Time to tell the truth. All of it." 2 hours before his press conference, Elon sat alone in his office at SpaceX headquarters. The walls were covered with photos of rocket launches, Mars surface maps, and technical drawings of spacecraft. But today, his attention was focused on a small metal safe hidden behind a bookshelf. Inside that safe were the 2 most important documents of his life. Dr. Foster's letter to him, ailing about the experimental treatments, and Dr. Foster's letter to Nevada, the one that had haunted him for 22 years. Elon pulled out both letters and spread them on his desk. He had memorized every word, but he still read them whenever he needed to remember why he was working so hard. But there was something else in the safe, something he had never told anyone about, not even Kimball. A 3rd piece of paper that Dr. Foster had left at Nevada's grave. It was her medical license. Dr. Amanda Foster had hidden her medical license with the letters, along with a note explaining why. "I can no longer practice medicine," the note read. "I have failed 2 children and their families. I am giving up my license and dedicating my remaining years to research. If I cannot save children as a doctor, perhaps I can save them as a scientist. Please use my research to help other families. My career is over, but the work must continue." Elon had tried for years to find out what happened to Dr. Foster's research when she died in the car accident just 2 months after Nevada. All her files had been given to her research partner in Germany. That research partner was Dr. Heinrich Müller, one of the world's leading experts on genetic disorders in children. For 20 years, Elon had been secretly funding Dr. Müller's lab, using money from his companies to push medical research forward as fast as possible. Most people thought Elon's medical research investments were just another business venture. They didn't know he was trying to fulfill a dying doctor's last wish. But the real secret was bigger than that. Dr. Foster hadn't just been Nevada's doctor. She had been working on something revolutionary when she died. Something that could have changed everything. Elon walked to his computer and opened an encrypted file that he checked every day. It contained Dr. Müller's latest research reports, sent directly from his lab in Munich. The most recent report, dated just 3 days ago, contained news that Elon had been waiting 22 years to hear. "Mr. Musk," Dr. Muller had written, I am pleased to inform you that the gene therapy treatment based on Dr. Foster's original research has successfully completed human trials. We have achieved a 95% success rate in treating the genetic condition that affected your son. As of today, the treatment is approved for use in hospitals across Europe and will be available in the United States within 6 months. We estimate that this therapy will save over 1,000 children per year worldwide. Dr. Foster's dream has finally become reality. Thank you for your patience and support over the past 2 decades. Elon had cried when he read that email 3 days ago. Nevada's death had finally led to something that would save thousands of other children. But that wasn't the only secret he was carrying. His phone buzzed with a call from Emily Wright. She was flying from Boston to Los Angeles and would arrive just in time for the press conference. "Mr. Musk," Emily said when he answered, "I wanted to thank you for agreeing to meet with me tomorrow. Thank you for reaching out. Your grandfather saved my life that night at the cemetery. He saved more than your life. He gave you a purpose that has changed the world." Elon looked at the rocket being assembled on the factory floor below his office. In 6 months, that rocket would carry the first crew to establish a permanent colony on Mars. "Emily, there's something I need to tell you before the press conference. Something about your grandfather that you might not know." "What is it?" "He didn't just give me emotional support and secret funding. He gave me something else. Something that became the foundation for everything SpaceX has accomplished." Emily was quiet, waiting for him to continue. "Your grandfather was more than just a retired aerospace engineer. He was one of the chief designers of the Apollo lunar landing module. He understood better than anyone how to build spacecraft that could safely carry humans to other worlds. I knew about his Apollo work, but what does that have to do with SpaceX?" Elon opened another file on his computer. This one contained technical drawings that looked like they came from the 1960s, but with modifications written in modern handwriting. "After that night at the cemetery, your grandfather became my secret partner. For 15 years, until he died in 2018, he helped design every major SpaceX vehicle. The Falcon 9 rocket, the Dragon capsule, the Mars colony ships, they're all based on improvements to his original Apollo designs." Emily gasped. "My grandfather helped build SpaceX? He didn't just help build it, he co-founded it. Professor Wright is the reason our rockets are so much safer and more reliable than anyone else's. He took the lessons he learned from putting humans on the moon and applied them to getting humans to Mars. Why didn't he want credit? Because he said the mission wasn't about him. It was about Nevada and Michael and all the children who would be saved by pushing technology forward. He wanted to stay anonymous so people would focus on the science, not the scientists." Elon walked to a filing cabinet and pulled out a thick folder labeled Project Nevada. "This contains your grandfather's original design notes for the Mars colony. Every building, every life support system, every safety protocol, he designed it all with one goal in mind." "What goal?" "Making Mars the safest place in the solar system for children to be born and raised. The Mars colony isn't just about human survival. It's about creating a world where children like Nevada and Michael could live healthy, happy lives." Emily was crying now. "My grandfather never told me any of this. He made me promise to tell you only after the Mars mission launched successfully. He wanted you to know that his final years were spent on something meaningful." Elon looked at his watch. 1 hour until the press conference. "Emily, there's one more thing. The reason I'm telling you all this now." "What?" "Tomorrow's rocket launch isn't just carrying supplies to the International Space Station. It's carrying the first components of the Mars colony. Your grandfather's designs are finally going to become reality." "Tomorrow? But I thought the Mars mission was still months away." "The colony mission is still months away. But we've been sending equipment ahead for 2 years. Tomorrow's launch carries the most important piece, the Children's Medical Center that your grandfather designed." Emily was silent for a long moment. "Mr. Musk, are you saying that my grandfather's hospital designs are going to Mars tomorrow?" "I'm saying that when the first human babies are born on Mars, they'll be born in a medical facility designed by Professor James Wright. A facility built to make sure no Mars-born child ever faces what Nevada and Michael faced." Elon heard Emily crying softly on the other end of the phone. "There's something else," he continued. "The medical center has a name. It's called the Wright Foster Children's Hospital. Your grandfather and Dr. Foster will be remembered together on Mars forever." "What about Nevada and Michael?" Elon smiled for the first time in days. The children's playground next to the hospital is called Nevada Park, and the research laboratory where they'll develop new treatments is called the Michael Foster Research Center. You're naming half the Mars colony after the people who helped you through the worst time of your life. I'm naming it after the people who taught me how to turn pain into purpose, how to transform the worst thing that can happen to a parent into the best thing that can happen to humanity. Elon looked at his computer screen, where a live video feed showed technicians loading equipment onto tomorrow's rocket. Emily, I want you to be at tomorrow's launch. I want you to see your grandfather's dreams, literally taking off for Mars. I'll be there. After hanging up, Elon sat quietly in his office, thinking about all the secrets he had carried for so long. Tomorrow, the world would learn about Professor Wright's role in building SpaceX. They would learn about Dr. Foster's research and how it had saved thousands of children. They would learn about the Mars colony that was designed to honor Nevada and Michael. But tonight, Elon had one more secret to share. He picked up his phone and called Justine. "Hello, Elon," she answered on the first ring. "Hi, Justine. I watched the interview. I'm sorry I didn't tell you I was doing it. I should have called first." "No, you were right to tell the story. People needed to hear it." They were quiet for a moment. "Elon, there's something I want to ask you." "What?" "When you hold your press conference tonight, will you tell them about the promise you made to Nevada? The real promise?" Elon felt his heart skip a beat. "What do you mean?" "I mean the promise you made that night in 2003 when you found Dr. Foster's letter. The promise I heard you make when I followed you to the cemetery." Elon had never known that Justine followed him that night. For 22 years, he thought his conversation with Nevada's grave had been private. "You were there?" "I was worried about you. I hid behind a tree and listened to everything you said. I heard you promise Nevada that you would take him to Mars. I heard you promise that his death would save other children. And I heard you promise something else." Elon's voice was barely a whisper. "What else did you hear?" "I heard you promise that you would never stop working until every parent in the world had the same chance to save their children that we didn't have. That you would push science and technology forward so fast that no family would ever have to say goodbye to their child because medicine wasn't advanced enough." Elon was crying now. "And I heard you promise that if you ever succeeded in getting humans to Mars, you would make sure it was the kind of world where Nevada could have lived a long, healthy life." "Justine, that's the real story, isn't it? You're not just trying to get to Mars, you're trying to build the world that Nevada deserved to live in." Elon looked out his office window at the rocket that would launch tomorrow, Professor Wright's medical center, Dr. Foster's research equipment, a children's hospital that would serve the first human babies born on another planet. "Yes," he whispered. "That's exactly what I'm trying to do." "Then tell them that tonight. Tell them that SpaceX isn't just about exploration or business. It's about love. It's about building a better world for all the children who come after Nevada." Elon wiped his eyes and stood up. It was time for the press conference. Time to tell the whole world about the promise that had guided his life for 22 years. The SpaceX factory floor had been transformed into the biggest press conference in company history. Over 500 reporters filled folding chairs arranged between the rockets. Camera crews from every major news network lined the walls. The entire world was watching. Elon walked onto the small stage wearing jeans and a plain white t-shirt instead of his usual Tesla gear. His eyes were red from crying, but his voice was steady. In his hand, he carried 3 pieces of paper, the letters that had changed his life. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," he began. "I know you're here because of what my ex-wife Justine said on 60 Minutes last night. She told you part of our story. Tonight, I want to tell you the rest." The crowd was completely silent. Even the camera crews stopped moving. "For 22 years, I've been carrying secrets that were eating me alive. Secrets about my son Nevada. Secrets about why I really started SpaceX. Secrets about promises I made that have guided every decision in my life." Elon looked directly into the cameras. "Justine told you about Dr. Foster's letter. About how she wanted to tell us about experimental treatments that might have saved Nevada's life. But there was more than one letter." He held up the second piece of paper. "This is a letter that Dr. Foster wrote to Nevada before she died. A letter where she told my baby son about her own child, Michael, who died 2 years before Nevada from the same condition." Elon's voice cracked as he read from the letter. She wrote, "Tell your daddy that guilt is a poison. But purpose is medicine. Tell him to use his pain to build something beautiful for other families. The audience was completely captivated. Many reporters were wiping their eye. But I need to tell you the hardest part of this story. The part that even Justine didn't know until tonight. Elon paused, collecting himself. I didn't just find those letters by accident. I went looking for them. Because 3 days after Nevada died, Dr. Foster called me. She said she had something important to tell me about Nevada's condition. Something that might help other families. The crowd murmured. This was new information. Dr. Foster asked me to come to her office the following week. She said there might have been options we didn't explore. But I was too angry, too broken, too afraid of learning that we could have saved Nevada. Elon's voice got quieter. I never went to that appointment. A week later, Dr. Foster died in a car accident. I thought I had lost my chance to learn what she wanted to tell me forever. He looked up at the audience. That's why I went to Nevada's grave in 2003. I was looking for answers that I was too scared to hear when Dr. Foster was alive. Elon explained how he found the letters, how he met Professor Wright, and how that conversation changed his entire approach to life. Professor Wright told me something that night that I've never forgotten. He said, "Son, you can spend your life looking backward at what you couldn't save, or you can spend it looking forward at what you might save tomorrow." The camera zoomed in on Elon's face as he continued. But then Professor Wright asked me a question that changed everything. He said, if you could build a world where children like Nevada could live healthy, happy lives, wouldn't that be the greatest way to honor his memory? Elon pulled out the third piece of paper. That night, I made a promise to Nevada. I wrote it down and I've carried it with me every day for 22 years. He unfolded the paper and read, "I promise you, Nevada, that I will use every day of my life to build a world where no parent has to say goodbye to their child because medicine wasn't advanced enough. I promise that I will push science and technology forward so fast that future families will have choices we didn't have." His voice grew stronger. "And I promise that if I ever succeed in getting humans to Mars, it will be the kind of world where you could have lived a long, healthy life." The audience was completely silent. Every rocket we've launched, every car Tesla has built, every solar panel we've installed, it's all been my way of keeping that promise. Elon walked closer to the cameras. But I haven't been working alone. Professor Wright, the man who comforted me that night, became my secret partner. For 15 years, he helped design every major SpaceX vehicle. The Falcon 9 rocket, the Dragon capsule, the Mars colony ships. They're all based on his improvements to the Apollo designs that took humans to the moon. Gasps rippled through the audience. This was completely unexpected. Professor Wright never wanted credit. He said the mission wasn't about him. It was about Nevada and Michael and all the children who would be saved by pushing technology forward. Elon gestured to the rocket behind him. "Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., SpaceX will launch our most important mission yet. This rocket will carry the first components of the Mars colony to the International Space Station, where they'll be transferred to the Mars transport ship." The audience leaned forward. No one had known about a launch tomorrow. The cargo includes something very special. The first children's medical center designed specifically for Mars. It's called the Wright Foster Children's Hospital, named after Professor Wright and Dr. Foster. Elon's eyes filled with tears. When the first human babies are born on Mars, they'll be born in a hospital designed to make sure they never face what Nevada and Michael faced. Advanced genetic screening, experimental treatments, the most sophisticated medical technology humanity has ever created. A reporter in the front row raised her hand. "Mr. Musk, are you saying that the entire Mars colony is designed around children's healthcare?" "I'm saying that everything we've learned from losing Nevada has been built into the Mars colony. Clean air so children don't develop breathing problems. Advanced medical facilities so no treatable condition goes untreated. Research laboratories working on cures for diseases that don't even exist yet." Another reporter called out, "What about the criticism that this is an unhealthy way to deal with grief?" Elon smiled for the first time since taking the stage. "Maybe it is unhealthy, but sometimes unhealthy grief produces healthy results. The medical research funded by my companies has saved over 3,000 children in the past 20 years. Children who had the same condition as Nevada." The audience erupted in surprised murmurs. "Just last week, I received confirmation that Dr. Foster's research has finally led to a gene therapy with a 95% success rate. Starting next month, children with Nevada's condition will have access to treatment that will save their lives. Elon's voice broke with emotion. Nevada's death has finally saved the lives of thousands of other children. His short life has had more impact than most people's long lives. A reporter from CNN stood up. Mr. Musk, you mentioned that Nevada will be going to Mars with the first colonists. Can you explain what you mean? Elon reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver container. This contains some of Nevada's ashes. I've carried it with me to every rocket launch, every important meeting, every major milestone in my companies. The cameras focused on the container in his hands. When humans land on Mars and start building the first permanent settlement, Nevada will be there with them. He'll finally get to see the red planet his daddy told him so many stories about. Elon looked directly into the camera. But he won't be alone. Michael Foster's ashes will be there too, along with Professor Wright's, the three people who taught me how to turn pain into purpose. The emotion in the room was overwhelming. Many reporters were openly crying. I want to end by saying something directly to other parents who have lost children, Elon said. Your pain doesn't have to be meaningless. Your grief doesn't have to be just grief. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to us becomes the fuel for the best thing we ever do. He paused, looking around the room. Nevada lived for 10 weeks. But his influence on human civilization will last forever. Because of him, children born on Mars will be healthier and safer than children born on Earth. Because of him, thousands of families won't have to go through what Justine and I went through. Elon held up the promise he had written 22 years ago. I made this promise to a dying baby, and it became my life's work. Tomorrow, when this rocket launches, it will carry the first piece of that promise to Mars. He looked directly into the cameras one final time. Nevada Alexander Musk died on October 28, 2002. But tomorrow, November 15, 2025, he begins his journey to Mars. My son is finally going to see the stars. The press conference ended with a 5-minute standing ovation. But Elon barely noticed. He was staring at the rocket that would launch in 12 hours, carrying his son's dream to the red planet. After 22 years, he was finally ready to let the world know that everything he had built was really a love letter to a little boy who never got to grow up. 3 hours after Elon's press conference ended, Justine sat in her Los Angeles home watching the news coverage. Every channel was showing the same clips, Elon holding Nevada's ashes, reading his 22-year-old promise, announcing tomorrow's rocket launch. Her phone hadn't stopped ringing. Reporters wanted her reaction to Elon's revelations. Talk show hosts wanted her to appear on their programs. Publishers wanted her to write a book about Nevada and the Mars mission. But Justine wasn't answering her phone. She was sitting in Nevada's old nursery, the room she had kept exactly as it was 23 years ago. The walls were still painted soft blue. The crib still held Nevada's favorite stuffed elephant, Cosmo. The rocking chair where she used to feed him sat by the window. Her husband David entered quietly and sat on the floor beside her chair. "How are you feeling?" he asked, gently. Justine stared at the empty crib. "I don't know." Proud of Elon for finally telling the truth. Sad that it took 23 years. Amazed that Nevada's death saved so many other children. She picked up Cosmos, the gray stuffed elephant that Nevada had loved. Elon had mentioned that an identical elephant was going to Mars with Nevada's ashes. "David, there's something I never told you. Something I never told anyone." David waited patiently. After 10 years of marriage, he knew when Justine needed time to find her words. The night Nevada died, after all the doctors and nurses left, I spent an hour alone with him in the hospital room. I held him and talked to him and sang to him. Tears started flowing down her cheeks. I made him a promise too, a different promise than the one Elon made. "What did you promise?" "I promised Nevada that if his daddy ever tried to change the world because of losing him, I would make sure the world knew how much love was behind it." David understood immediately. "That's why you did the 60 Minutes interview." I've watched Elon for 23 years. I've seen him push himself to the breaking point over and over again. People think he's driven by ego or money or fame. But I knew the truth. He was driven by love and guilt and a promise to our baby. Justine got up and walked to Nevada's bookshelf. Among the children's books sat a small journal with a blue leather cover. I wrote in this every day for the first year after Nevada died. I haven't opened it in over a decade. She sat back down and opened the journal to a page dated November 15, 2002. Exactly 23 years ago today. Listen to what I wrote the day we buried Nevada. She read aloud from her own handwriting. Today we said goodbye to our beautiful boy. Elon held my hand during the service, but I could feel him pulling away from me and towards something else. Something bigger than our marriage. Bigger than our pain. I think losing Nevada broke something in Elon that will never heal, but I also think it created something in him that will change the world. David looked surprised. You knew 23 years ago that Elon would build something extraordinary. I knew he wouldn't let Nevada's death be meaningless. I just didn't know how far he would go. Justine flipped through more pages of the journal. Look at this entry from December. She read, Elon talks about Mars every day now. He says humans need to become a spacefaring species to survive, but I think Mars represents something else to him. I think Mars is where Nevada lives in Elon's imagination. A perfect place where children don't get sick and families don't get broken. You understood his mission before he did. I understood his heart. I knew that everything he built from that point on would be a way of staying connected to Nevada. Justine closed the journal and picked up her laptop. She started typing an email. What are you doing? David asked. Something I should have done years ago. She typed, Dear Elon, I watched your press conference tonight. I had no idea you've been carrying so much pain alone for so long. I'm sorry I didn't know about Professor Wright. I'm sorry we couldn't grieve together in a way that helped both of us heal. She paused, then continued typing. But I'm proud of what you've built from that pain. Nevada would be proud too. The medical center going to Mars tomorrow is the most beautiful memorial any child could have. She typed faster now, the words flowing easily. There's something I want you to know. I made Nevada a promise too. 23 years ago. I promised him that if you ever tried to save the world because of losing him, I would make sure the world understood the love behind your mission. Justine stopped typing and looked at David. I want to help with the Mars colony. I want to be part of keeping Elon's promise to Nevada. How? I'm going to write the definitive book about Nevada's legacy. Not a sad story about losing a child, but an inspiring story about how love can transform tragedy into hope. She continued typing the email. Elon, I want to work with you on the Nevada Foundation. Not as your ex-wife, but as Nevada's mother. I want to help tell his story in a way that gives hope to other families who have lost children. Justine thought for a moment, then added, There's something else I want you to know. I've been working on a children's book about a little boy who becomes an astronaut after he dies. A boy who visits planets and helps other children from the stars. I started writing it 5 years ago, but I never knew how to end it. She smiled through her tears. Now I know how it ends. It ends with the little boy finding the perfect planet where all children can be safe and healthy. A red planet where his daddy built a special hospital just for kids. She finished the email. Nevada's story isn't over, Elon. Tomorrow, it begins a new chapter. Love, Justine. After sending the email, Justine made a phone call to Rebecca Martinez at 60 Minutes. Rebecca, it's Justine. I want to do a follow-up interview. There's one more part of this story that needs to be told. What part is that? The part about forgiveness. About how two people who lost the same child found different ways to honor his memory. About how divorce doesn't have to mean the end of shared love. Justine looked at Nevada's crib one more time. I want people to know that Elon and I never stopped being Nevada's parents. We just learned to be his parents in different ways. That night, Justine did something she hadn't done in 15 years. She called Elon directly. Hi, she said when he answered. Hi, Justine. I got your email. Thank you. I should have sent it years ago. They talked for 2 hours. About Nevada. About Mars. About the promises they had both made to their son. About the ways they had grown apart and the ways they had always stayed connected through their shared love for their first child. Justine, Elon said near the end of their conversation, would you come to the rocket launch tomorrow? Nevada should have both his parents there when he starts his journey to Mars. Justine looked around Nevada's nursery one more time. I'll be there. We'll send him off together. After hanging up, Justine sat quietly in the rocking chair where she used to hold Nevada 23 years ago. For the first time since his death, she felt peace instead of pain when she thought about her son. Tomorrow, Nevada would begin the greatest adventure any child had ever taken. He would travel to a planet where his father had built a world designed specifically for children's happiness and health. Nevada's 10 weeks of life had become 23 years of purpose. His death had become thousands of other children's lives. His memory had become humanity's hope for a better future. As Justine turned off the lights in Nevada's nursery, she whispered the same words she had said every night for 23 years. "Sweet dreams, baby boy. Mommy loves you." But tonight, she added something new. "Have fun on Mars, sweetheart. Daddy built it just for you." The Kennedy Space Center in Florida buzzed with excitement at 6 a.m. Thousands of people had gathered to watch the most important SpaceX launch in history. This wasn't just another supply mission to the International Space Station. This was the beginning of Nevada's journey to Mars. Elon arrived at the launch center in a Tesla that had driven itself through the Florida darkness. He hadn't slept at all, but he felt more awake than he had in years. Today, after 23 years of work, he would finally begin to keep his promise to Nevada. At the VIP viewing area, a small group of special guests waited for him. Marcus Thompson stood with his wife and children. Emily Wright had flown in from Boston, carrying her grandfather's old journal about the Apollo missions. Sarah Kim, Elon's girlfriend, held a bouquet of white roses, Nevada's favorite flowers. But the person Elon was most nervous to see was standing by herself near the fence, looking up at the rocket in the distance. Justine wore a simple white dress and held a small stuffed elephant. Not Cosmos, but Cosmos's twin brother that she had bought years ago but never gave to Nevada. She had saved it for a special occasion that never came, until today. "Hi," Elon said quietly as he walked up to her. "Hi," Justine replied. "Thank you for inviting me." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the sunrise paint the sky orange and pink behind the rocket. It had been 18 months since they had been in the same place at the same time. "I read your children's book idea," Elon said, "about the little boy astronaut who helps children from the stars. Did you like it?" "I loved it. It's exactly how I imagine Nevada now. Flying around the universe, making sure other kids are safe and happy." Justine smiled. "That's how I've always imagined him too. Not sad or sick, but adventurous and brave." Emily Wright walked over to join them, carrying a small metal box. "Mr. and Mrs. Musk," she said formally, then caught herself. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Ch." "It's okay," Justine said gently. "Today, I'm Nevada's mother. That's all that matters." Emily opened the metal box and showed them what was inside. A small piece of metal with words engraved on it. "This is a piece of the original Apollo lunar module that my grandfather helped design. He asked me to give it to you if the Mars mission ever became real." Elon read the engraving. "For Nevada Alexander Musk, the first child to dream of Mars, from Professor James Wright, who helped make dreams come true." "He made this 20 years ago?" Justine asked. "He made it the week after he met Elon at the cemetery. He always believed this day would come." Marcus Thompson joined their small circle. "5 minutes to launch," he announced. The group walked to the viewing stands. Elon and Justine sat side by side in the front row, with Emily, Marcus, and Dr. Kim behind them. "Ladies and gentlemen," the loudspeaker announced, "welcome to the SpaceX Nevada mission. Today's launch carries the first components of the Wright Foster Children's Hospital to the International Space Station, where they will be transferred to the Mars transport vessel." The crowd of thousands fell silent as the countdown began. 10, 9. Elon reached into his pocket and pulled out the small silver container holding Nevada's ashes. He had carried it to every important moment in his life for 23 years. 7, 6, 5. Justine took Elon's other hand. For a moment, they weren't divorced ex-spouses. They were just two parents sending their child on the greatest adventure in human history. 4, 3, 2. "This is for you, buddy," Elon whispered to the container. 1. Ignition liftoff. The rocket rose slowly, at first, then faster and faster, trailing fire and smoke. The roar was so loud that everyone had to cover their ears. But Elon and Justine never took their eyes off the rocket carrying their son's dream to space. As the rocket disappeared into the blue Florida sky, something unexpected happened. Elon started crying. Not the quiet tears he had shed at press conferences, but deep healing sobs that came from 23 years of carrying pain alone. Justine put her arm around him and held him while he cried. "It's okay," she whispered. "He made it." Nevada made it to space. Emily Wright was crying too, thinking about her grandfather and how proud he would be to see his designs finally heading to Mars. Marcus Thompson wiped his eyes, remembering the shy college student who had been too nervous to talk to a girl in the library, and marveling at the man who had just launched his son's memory toward another planet. Dr. Kim watched Elon with new understanding. She had never seen him show this much emotion, and she realized that everything she loved about his passion and determination came from his love for a child she would never meet. After the rocket disappeared from sight, the crowd slowly began to leave the viewing area. But Elon's group stayed behind, watching the empty sky. "What happens next?" Justine asked. "The hospital components will reach the space station tomorrow," Elon explained. "In 3 months, they'll be loaded onto the Mars transport ship. The journey to Mars takes 6 months, so Nevada will arrive at Mars in about 9 months. And then the real work begins. Building the colony, setting up the hospital, creating the world we promised him." Emily Wright opened her grandfather's journal and read a passage she had written in "Today I met a young man whose heart is broken but whose spirit is unbreakable. He has lost his child, but he will save many children. He dreams of Mars, but he is really building heaven." She looked up at Elon and Justine. "My grandfather was right. You didn't just build a space program. You built hope." As they walked back to their cars, Justine surprised everyone by asking, "Elon, can I come visit the Mars Mission Control Center? I want to follow Nevada's journey to Mars. I want to be there when he arrives." Elon smiled, the first genuine, peaceful smile anyone had seen from him in years. "I was hoping you would ask. Nevada should have both his parents there when he lands on Mars." That afternoon, Justine and Elon held an impromptu press conference together. For the first time in 18 years, they appeared side by side in front of cameras. "Today, our son Nevada began his journey to Mars," Justine said simply. "We couldn't save him 23 years ago, but we helped him reach the stars today." Elon added, "The Mars colony will be Nevada's legacy. Every child born there will grow up in a world designed to keep them healthy and safe. Nevada's 10 weeks of life will protect millions of future lives." A reporter asked, "What's next for both of you?" Justine and Elon looked at each other and smiled. "We're gonna write Nevada's story together," Justine said. "A story about how love is stronger than loss, how hope is stronger than grief, and how sometimes the smallest lives have the biggest impact. And we're going to keep building," Elon added. "The hospital on Mars is just the beginning. We're going to create a civilization where no parent ever has to say goodbye to their child because medicine wasn't advanced enough." As the reporters packed up their equipment, Elon and Justine found themselves alone for the first time in years. "Thank you," Elon said quietly. "For what?" "For keeping your promise to Nevada. For making sure the world knew this was all about love," Justine smiled. "Thank you for keeping your promise too. For turning our worst day into humanity's best hope." They stood together watching the sun set over the Kennedy Space Center. Somewhere above them, Nevada was flying through space on his way to Mars. After 23 years, their little boy was finally going to see the red planet his daddy had told him so many stories about. "Do you think he knows?" Justine asked. "I think he's been guiding this whole mission from the beginning," Elon replied. "I think he was just waiting for us to catch up to his dream." As they walked toward their cars, both parents felt something they hadn't experienced since October 20. Peace. Nevada was safe now. He was on his way to a world built specifically for children like him. A world where no family would ever have to endure what they had endured. Their son's journey was just beginning. And for the first time in 23 years, that felt like a reason to celebrate instead of cry. Within hours of the rocket launch, the story of Nevada Musk spread around the world like wildfire. Social media exploded with posts using Nevada Promise and Love to Mars. The launch video was watched 50 million times in the first day. But something unexpected was happening. Instead of just talking about Elon Musk's wealth or SpaceX's technology, people were sharing their own stories of loss and hope. Dr. Sarah Chen, the Tech Today reporter who had started it all with her question at the Tesla press conference, was overwhelmed by the response to her articles. Parents who had lost children were emailing her from around the world. "My daughter Emma died of the same condition as Nevada," wrote a mother from Germany. Reading about the gene therapy that will save other children makes me feel like Emma's death wasn't meaningless. My son would have loved the Mars mission, wrote a father from Japan. Thank you for showing us that grief can become purpose. Sarah decided to write a follow-up story about how Nevada's legacy was inspiring other families. She traveled Boston to interview Dr. Helen Martinez, a pediatric researcher who had been working on genetic disorders for 15 years. The Nevada Foundation has revolutionized our field, Dr. Martinez explained. Before Elon Musk started funding our research, we were moving slowly. Now we're making breakthroughs every month. She showed Sarah a wall covered with photos of children who had been saved by treatments developed with Nevada Foundation funding. This is Maya, age 3. This is Carlos, age 7. This is Rebecca, age 5. They all had the same condition that killed Nevada Musk, but because of research that started with his father's pain, they're alive and healthy. Sarah counted the photos. Over 200 children smiled back at her from the wall. These are just the ones from our hospital, Dr. Martinez added. Worldwide, we estimate that Nevada Foundation research has saved over 3,000 children in the past 20 years. Meanwhile, at SpaceX headquarters in California, Marcus Thompson was dealing with a different kind of response. Engineers and ants from around the world were contacting the company, wanting to join the Mars mission. I want to help build Nevada's hospital, wrote Dr. James Kim, a pediatric surgeon from Seoul. My own daughter died from a rare brain tumor. If I can help prevent other families from going through that pain, I want to be part of it. Count me in for the Mars colony. Emailed Dr. Lisa Petrov, a Russian space medicine specialist. Building a world where children can thrive is the most important work humans have ever attempted. Marcus showed the emails to Elon during their weekly planning meeting. We've received over 10,000 applications to join the Mars program since the launch, Marcus reported. Engineers, doctors, teachers, farmers, everyone wants to help build Nevada's world. Elon looked through some of the applications. Many included personal stories about losing children or wanting to build a better future for their own kids. It's not just about Mars anymore, Elon realized. It's become a symbol of hope for everyone who has ever lost someone they love. But the most surprising reaction came from an unexpected source. Dr. Emily Wright received a call from the European Space Agency in Germany. Dr. Wright, the caller said, we've been following the Nevada mission with great interest. We understand that your grandfather helped design the Mars Colony Hospital. That's correct. We would like to propose a partnership. Europe wants to contribute to the Wright Foster Children's Hospital. We have medical technology that could make the Mars facility even more advanced than anything on Earth. Emily was stunned. You want to help build my grandfather's hospital? We want to help build Nevada's legacy. The story of how personal tragedy became humanity's hope has inspired our entire space program. Within a week, space agencies from 12 countries had contacted SpaceX about contributing to the Mars colony. Japan offered advanced robotics for the Children's Medical Center. Germany provided experimental gene therapy equipment. Canada sent specialists in space agriculture to grow food for young colonists. The Mars mission was becoming a global effort, united by the story of a little boy who had died 23 years ago. But perhaps the most touching response came from children themselves. At Riverside Elementary School in Ohio, 8-year-old Tommy Chen, no relation to the reporter, raised his hand during science class. Mrs. Peterson, can we write letters to Nevada? His teacher looked confused. Tommy, Nevada died a long time ago. I know, but his ashes are gonna Mars. Maybe he can read letters from space. The idea spread quickly. Soon, children from around the world were writing letters to Nevada Musk, sharing their dreams about space and their hopes for the future. Dear Nevada, wrote 10-year-old Maria from Mexico. My little brother has the same sickness you had, but the doctors say there's new medicine that will make him better. Thank you for helping my brother live. Hi Nevada, wrote 9-year-old Ahmed from Egypt. I want to be an astronaut when I grow up. Maybe I'll come visit you on Mars someday. The letters poured in by the thousands. NASA started a special program to include selected children's letters on future Mars missions, calling it Messages to Nevada. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, Justine's therapist friend, found herself becoming an expert on how tragedy can transform to purpose. Psychology journals wanted her to write articles about the Nevada effect, how one family's public grief was helping other families heal. What we're seeing is unprecedented, Dr. Rodriguez explained to a reporter from Psychology Today. Elon and Justine Musk turned their private pain into public purpose. Now other grieving families feel permission to find meaning in their losses. She had started receiving calls from parents around the world who wanted guidance on how to honor their deceased children. One couple started a foundation for pediatric cancer research after losing their daughter, she explained. Another family began advocating for better car safety after their son died in an accident. Nevada's story showed them that grief doesn't have to be the end of the story, but the most significant response came from the medical community itself. Dr. Heinrich Müller, the German researcher who had been working with Dr. Foster's original research for 20 years, announced a major breakthrough. Thanks to funding from the Nevada Foundation and international cooperation inspired by Nevada's story, he told a packed auditorium in Munich, "We have developed a universal screening test that can detect genetic disorders before birth." The audience erupted in applause. This means that in the future, no parent will have to experience what the Musk family went through. We can identify and treat these conditions before children are even born. Dr. Müller held up a small device that looked like a smartphone. This scanner can be used in any hospital, anywhere in the world. The technology will be provided free to developing countries through the Nevada Foundation. He paused, looking directly at the cameras that were broadcasting his announcement worldwide. Nevada Musk will be remembered as the child whose death ended preventable childhood deaths forever. Back in Los Angeles, Justine was in her office writing the book about Nevada's legacy when her phone rang. It was Rebecca Martinez from 60 Minutes. "Justine, we're planning a one-year follow-up special about Nevada's impact on the world. Would you and Elon participate?" "What kind of impact are you talking about?" The Nevada Foundation has raised over $2 billion for medical research. 12 countries are now contributing to the Mars colony. Over 50,000 children have received better medical care because of treatments developed with Nevada's funding. Justine sat down, overwhelmed by the numbers. "But that's not even the most amazing part," Rebecca continued. "We've tracked down families who named their newborn children Nevada in honor of your son. In the past 6 months, over 1,000 babies around the world have been named Nevada Musk." Justine started crying. Happy tears this time. Parents are naming their children after our baby. They're naming their children after hope. Nevada has become a symbol of how love can change the world. That evening, Justine called Elon to tell him about the babies named Nevada. 1,000 children, Elon repeated in wonder. 1,000 little Nevadas running around the world. It's like he's living again. Justine said softly, "In all these families who found hope because of his story." "Maybe that was always the plan," Elon replied. "Maybe Nevada was meant to touch more lives by leaving early than he ever could have by staying." As they talked, both parents realized that something extraordinary had happened. Their son's death had become a force for life. His brief existence had inspired a global movement to protect children and reach for the stars. Nevada Alexander Musk had lived for only 10 weeks. But in 2025, his influence was saving lives every single day. And in 9 months, when his ashes reached Mars, he would become the first child to help humanity take its next great step into the universe. 6 months after the rocket launch, the Nevada Foundation held its first major fundraising gala in San Francisco. The ballroom at the Fairmont Hotel was filled with the 1,000 people who had come together for one purpose: to celebrate how Nevada's legacy was changing the world. Elon and Justine walked into the gala together. They weren't dating. Elon was still with Dr. Sarah Kim, and Justine remained happily married to David Chen. But their partnership in Nevada's memory had become stronger than their marriage had ever been. "Look at all these people," Justine whispered to Elon as they entered the ballroom. "Nevada would be amazed that so many strangers care about him." The walls were covered with photos and stories of children who had been saved by Nevada Foundation research. Each table was named after a different breakthrough: the Maya table for gene therapy, the Carlos table for early detection, the Rebecca table for new treatments. Dr. Sarah Kim, now serving as the Foundation's Director of Medical Research, took the stage first. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first annual Nevada celebration. We're not here to mourn a child who died. We're here to celebrate a child who lives on through every life he has saved." The audience erupted in applause. In the 6 months since Elon shared Nevada's story with the world, we have achieved what seemed impossible. The universal screening device developed by Dr. Müller in Germany has been distributed to hospitals in 50 countries. She clicked a remote, and a world map appeared on the giant screen behind her. Green dots lit up across every continent. Each green dot represents a hospital that can now detect genetic disorders before birth. Because of Nevada's legacy, no family will ever again lose a child to the condition that took him. The applause was thunderous. But that's just the beginning, Dr. Kim continued. The research techniques developed for Nevada's condition have led to breakthroughs in treating childhood cancer, heart defects, and brain disorders. More green dots appeared on the map. In 6 months, Nevada Foundation research has directly saved 47 children's lives. In the next year, we expect that number to reach 5,000. Elon squeezed Justine's hand as the audience gave another standing ovation. Marcus Thompson took the stage next, representing the Mars mission. Nevada's journey to Mars has captured the world's imagination, he began. But the Mars colony isn't just about space exploration anymore. It's become the most ambitious children's healthcare project in human history. The screen showed architectural drawings of the Wright Foster Children's Hospital on Mars. 12 countries are now contributing to the Mars colony. Japan has designed robots that will assist with pediatric surgery. Germany has created genetic laboratories that will prevent diseases before they develop. Canada has built growing systems that will provide the healthiest food any children have ever eaten. Marcus gestured to the audience. When the first babies are born on Mars, they will be born into a world designed entirely for their safety and happiness. They will grow up in a place where Nevada's spirit lives in every building, every machine, and every breath of clean air. The crowd was completely silent, absorbed in the vision. The Mars transport ship will launch in 3 months. Nevada's ashes are already aboard, waiting for their final journey. When they land on Mars in 6 months, Nevada will become the first child to reach another planet. Emily Wright walked onto the stage, carrying her grandfather's old Apollo journal. My grandfather, Professor James Wright, believed that the greatest achievements in human history come from love, not ambition, she said. He was right. Nevada's story has shown us that when we build from love instead of ego, we can accomplish miracles. She opened the journal to a page written 22 years ago. My grandfather wrote this after meeting Elon at Nevada's grave. Today I met a broken father who will heal the world. His son's death will become humanity's greatest gift. Mark my words. This child will touch more lives than any person who ever lived to be one. Emily looked directly at Elon and Justine. Professor Wright was right. Nevada has already touched millions of lives, and his greatest impact is still to come. But the most powerful moment of the evening came when Justine took the stage. 23 years ago, I held my dying baby and felt like the world was ending, she began. Tonight, I stand before you knowing that Nevada's world is just beginning. She gestured to the crowd. Look around this room. These aren't just wealthy donors or space enthusiasts. These are parents, grandparents, teachers, and doctors who believe that every child deserves the chance Nevada didn't get. Her voice grew stronger. Nevada lived for 10 weeks, but his influence will last forever. Every child saved by gene therapy carries Nevada's legacy. Every family that doesn't have to say goodbye carries Nevada's hope. Justine pulled out a small book, the children's stories she had been writing about the little boy astronaut. I've spent the past 6 months writing Nevada's story for children. It's about a brave little boy who becomes an astronaut after he dies. A boy who visits planets and helps other children from the stars. She held up the book, titled Nevada Among the Stars. The book ends with the little boy finding the perfect red planet where all children can be safe and healthy. A planet where his daddy built a special hospital just for kids. Tears were flowing freely throughout the audience. This book will be published in 12 languages and distributed free to children's hospitals worldwide. Every sick child will know Nevada's story. Every child will know that love is stronger than death, and hope is stronger than fear. Elon joined Justine on the stage for the evening's final announcement. Justine and I have an important update about the Mars mission, he said. The first human crew will launch to Mars in 18 months. But this won't be an ordinary exploration mission. The screen behind them showed photos of the crew, 6 men and women from different countries. Dr. Maria Santos from Brazil is a pediatric surgeon. Dr. Yuki Tanaka from Japan specializes in genetic disorders. Dr. Ahmed Hassan from Egypt studies child development. 3 of our 6 Mars colonists are doctors who specialize in children's health. Justine continued, the first humans to live permanently on Mars will be dedicated to building Nevada's dream. A world where every child has the best possible chance at a healthy, happy life. Elon's voice filled with emotion. When Nevada's ashes land on Mars next month, they won't be alone. They'll be surrounded by doctors, scientists, and engineers who have dedicated their lives to protecting children. The audience rose in the longest-standing ovation of the evening. As the gala ended, Elon and Justine found themselves on the hotel balcony, looking up at the stars. Mars was visible as a tiny red dot in the clear San Francisco sky. "Do you think he knows?" Justine asked, the same question she had asked at the rocket launch. "I think he's been orchestrating this whole thing," Elon replied. "Think about it. Dr. Foster left those letters exactly where I would find them. Professor Wright happened to be at the cemetery that exact night. Emily Wright contacted you just when the world was ready to hear Nevada's story." Justine nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe Nevada has been guiding us all along. Maybe some children are meant to change the world by leaving it," Elon said softly. They stood in comfortable silence, two parents who had found peace after 23 years of pain. "Elon," Justine said finally, "I have one more surprise." "What's that?" "David and I want to have a baby." Elon looked surprised, then smiled. The biggest, most genuine smile Justine had seen from him since Nevada was born. "That's wonderful. Nevada would love to have a little brother or sister watching over him from Earth. We're going to name the baby Hope if it's a girl, or James if it's a boy, after Professor Wright." Elon hugged his ex-wife, both of them crying happy tears. "Nevada would be so proud," he whispered. Above them, Mars glowed softly in the night sky, waiting for the little boy who would soon call it home. In 1 month, Nevada would complete his journey to the Red Planet. In 18 months, the first humans would join him there. And someday soon, children would be born on Mars, who would grow up knowing that they lived in a world built from love, protected by hope, and watched over by a little boy named Nevada, who had turned his brief life into humanity's greatest adventure. The future had never looked brighter, and it all started with 10 weeks of love that refused to die. 1 month later, mission control at SpaceX headquarters was busier than it had ever been. Every monitor showed different angles of the Mars transport ship as it approached the red planet's surface. After 6 months of travel through space, Nevada's ashes were finally about to reach their destination. Elon sat in the front row of the observation deck, surrounded by the people who had made this moment possible. Justine sat beside him, her hand resting on her growing belly where baby Hope was developing. Marcus Thompson monitored the landing systems. Emily Wright clutched her grandfather's Apollo journal. Dr. Sarah Kim tracked the medical equipment aboard the ship. "Landing sequence initiated," announced the mission commander's voice from Mars. "All systems green. Cargo bay secure." On the main screen, everyone could see the Martian landscape growing larger as the ship descended. Red rocks and Danton Mountains stretched to the horizon under a butterscotch sky. "Nevada's really gonna make it," Justine whispered. "He made it the moment we decided to tell his story," Elon replied softly. The landing was perfect. The ship touched down in Cres Planitia, the same region where the first Mars probe had landed in 1976. But this landing was different. This ship carried the dreams of a little boy and the hopes of millions of people on Earth. "Touchdown confirmed," came the voice from Mars. "Beginning cargo deployment." The cameras showed the ship's bay doors opening. Robotic arms began unloading the components of the Wright Foster Children's Hospital. Solar panels that would power the medical center. Advanced laboratory equipment for developing new treatments. Communication systems that would connect Mars doctors with Earth specialists. And carefully protected in a special temperature-controlled container. Nevada's ashes in their small silver vessel. "Package Nevada is secure and ready for placement," the mission commander reported. Elon had to wipe his eyes when he heard those words. After 23 years, Nevada was finally on Mars. Over the next week, the robotic construction systems began assembling the children's hospital. Cameras streamed live footage to Earth, showing the building taking shape piece by piece. The whole world watched as Nevada's dream became reality. The hospital was designed to look welcoming rather than clinical. The walls were painted in bright colors: blue like Earth's sky, green like growing plants, yellow like sunshine. The patient rooms had large windows showing the Martian landscape, so young patients could see the red planet their families had traveled so far to reach. But the most special part was Nevada Park, the children's playground built next to the hospital. It featured equipment designed specifically for Mars's lower gravity, swings that would carry children higher than any swing on Earth, slides that seemed to go on forever, climbing structures that would make kids feel like they were flying. At the center of Nevada Park stood a small memorial garden. The garden contained plants from Earth, roses, daisies, and small oak trees that would grow in the specially designed Martian soil. And at the heart of the garden was a simple marker where Nevada's ashes had been placed. The marker read, Nevada Alexander Musk, 2002, the first child to dream of Mars. His love lives on in every child who finds healing here. When the construction was finished 2 weeks later, Elon held another press conference. But this time it wasn't just about SpaceX or Tesla. This time he was joined by leaders from 12 countries and hundreds of doctors and scientists who had contributed to the Mars colony. Today, we have completed the most important building project in human history, Elon announced to the packed auditorium. The Wright Foster Children's Hospital is now operational on Mars. The screen behind him showed the completed hospital, gleaming in the Martian sunlight. But this hospital will never treat a patient unless we succeed in our next mission. In 12 months, the first human families will travel to Mars to begin permanent colonization. Dr. Sarah Kim stepped forward with an update on the crew selection. We have chosen 24 people for the first permanent Mars colony. 8 are medical professionals specializing in children's health. 4 are teachers who will educate the first Mars-born generation. The rest are engineers, farmers, and scientists who will build and maintain a world designed for children's safety and happiness. She clicked to the next slide, showing photos of families. Most importantly, 6 of our colonists are expecting babies. The first children born on Mars will arrive within 2 years of colonization. The audience gasped. This was unexpected news. These babies will be born in Nevada's hospital. Dr. Kim continued. They will be the healthiest children in human history, protected by medical technology that exists nowhere else in the solar system. Justine took the microphone next. Nevada's story began with loss, but it ends with new life. The first baby born on Mars will grow up in a world where genetic disorders can be prevented before birth, where clean air and water are guaranteed, where every child receives the best medical care possible. She smiled, touching her belly. I'm 5 months pregnant with my second child. Baby Hope will be born on Earth, but she will grow up knowing that her big brother Nevada helped create a better world for children everywhere. The press conference ended with an announcement that surprised everyone, including Elon. Marcus Thompson took the stage and revealed that he had been secretly selected as the Mars colony's chief engineer. I'm going to Mars with the first colonist group, he announced. Someone needs to be there to maintain Nevada's hospital and make sure it serves children for generations to come. Elon was speechless. His best friend was volunteering to leave Earth permanently to help care for Nevada's legacy. Why? Elon asked after the camera stopped rolling. Because 33 years ago, I watched you fall in love with a girl in a library, Marcus replied. And 23 years ago, I watched you lose the child who came from that love. I've been part of this story from the beginning. I want to be part of the ending too. That night, Elon and Justine drove to Forest Lawn Memorial Park for what would be their last visit to Nevada's grave together. Tomorrow, Justine would return to her life as a pregnant mother and successful author. Elon would continue building the companies that would support the Mars colony. They sat on the bench they had placed there years ago, looking at the headstone that now seemed too small for the child whose influence had grown so large. He's not really here anymore, is he? Justine said quietly. No. He's on Mars now. He's in every child saved by the gene therapy. He's in every family that doesn't have to say goodbye. He's every family that doesn't have to say goodbye. He's everywhere. Love is stronger than loss. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun set behind the oak tree. Elon. Justine said finally. Do you think we did it? Do you think we kept our promises to him? Elon thought about everything that had happened since that terrible day in 2002. The companies built, the lives saved, the hospital on Mars, the families preparing to create a new world for their children. I think we did more than keep our promises, he said. I think we proved that 10 weeks of love can change the universe. As they walked back to their cars, both parents felt a peace they had never experienced before. Nevada's journey was complete. He had made it to Mars. He had saved thousands of children's lives. He had inspired humanity to reach for the stars. Their son's story wasn't ending. It was just beginning a new chapter, written in the red soil of Mars and the hearts of everyone who believed that love could conquer even death. Nevada Alexander Musk had lived for only 10 weeks, but his love would live forever. 1 year after Nevada's ashes reached Mars, the Nevada Foundation held its most important event ever. The first annual Children's Day celebration was taking place simultaneously on Earth and Mars, connected by live video feed across 140 million miles of space. In San Francisco, 5,000 children who had been saved by Nevada Foundation research gathered at Golden Gate Park. They wore t-shirts that read, "Nevada's Kids," and carried balloons in red, white, and blue, the colors of Mars, Earth, and hope. On Mars, the 6 families who had arrived 3 months earlier stood outside the Wright Foster Children's Hospitals. Their children, ranging in age from 2 to 12, were the first humans ever to call another planet home. But the most special moment was about to happen. Dr. Maria Santos, the Brazilian pediatric surgeon who had become Mars Colony's chief medical officer, walked to the center of Nevada Park carrying a small bundle wrapped in a soft blue blanket. "Earth and Mars," she announced to both planets. "I would like you to meet James Nevada Chen Martinez." The baby in her arms was just 2 weeks old, the first human child ever born on Mars. His parents had chosen his name carefully. James for Professor Wright, Nevada for the boy whose dream had made Mars possible, and Chen Martinez for their own families on Earth. Justine, watching from Earth while holding her own 3-month-old daughter Hope, started crying happy tears. Elon stood beside her, holding the silver container that had once carried Nevada's ashes to Mars, now empty since Nevada was finally home. "Nevada," Justine whispered to the screen showing Mars, "meet your little brother." Baby James Nevada had been born in the hospital built in Nevada's honor. He had taken his first breath of air filtered through systems designed to be the cleanest in the solar system. He would grow up in a world where genetic disorders were detected and treated before birth, where every child received perfect medical care, where the playground was designed for joy and wonder. Dr. Sarah Kim, now working full-time as the Nevada Foundation's director, shared the latest statistics with both planets. In the past year, Nevada Foundation research has saved 2,047 children worldwide. The Universal Genetic Screening Program is now available in 89 countries. The gene therapy that could have saved Nevada has a 97% success rate and has been used to treat over 500 children. She paused, looking directly at the camera. But perhaps most importantly, 15,000 babies have been born this year in hospitals using medical protocols developed for the Mars colony. These children are the healthiest humans who have ever lived. Marcus Thompson, now permanently living on Mars as the colony's chief engineer, added his own update. The Wright Foster Children's Hospital has treated 47 children since opening 6 months ago. Bumps, bruises, and 1 case of Mars flu, a mild cold that developed when Earth bacteria adapted to Martian conditions. Every child made a full recovery. He gestured to the red landscape behind him. More importantly, we're ready for the next wave of families. 12 more couples are arriving next month, and 8 of them are expecting babies. By next year, we'll have 30 children living on Mars. Emily Wright, speaking from the audience on Earth, shared her grandfather's final prediction. Professor Wright wrote in his journal that Nevada would touch more lives by age 25 than most people touch in a lifetime. Nevada would have turned 25 this year. Let's count how many lives he's touched. The screen behind her lit up with numbers. Direct medical saves. 3 UADC 47 children. Improved medical care worldwide. 15,000 babies born healthier. Mars colonists living in a world designed for children's safety, 24 people. Families inspired to start their own foundations, over 20. The numbers kept climbing. Medical researchers funded by the Nevada Foundation. 23 countries participating in Mars medical research, 23 children who have read Nevada Among the Stars, over 2 million. But Emily saved the most amazing statistic for last. Babies named Nevada in honor of your son. 4,789 children worldwide now carry his name and his legacy. The celebration continued with children from both planets sharing their dreams. 8-year-old Maya, from Mexico, whose life had been saved by Nevada Foundation gene therapy, spoke for all the Earth children. "Dear Nevada," she said, looking up at the camera, "thank you for helping the doctors save me. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor too, so I can save other kids just like you saved me. On Mars, 6-year-old Zara, whose family had been among the first colonists, spoke for the Mars children. "Hi, Nevada! I live in your hospital now. It's really nice here. The playground is super fun, and there are no mean germs that make kids sick. I planted a flower in your garden today. It's gonna grow big and strong just like all the kids you help." But the most touching moment came when the children on both planets did something no one had planned. Without being asked, all 5,000 children on Earth, and all 30 children on Mars, began singing the same song, "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." It wasn't organized or rehearsed. It just happened, as if Nevada himself had whispered the idea to every child at the same moment. As their voices joined across space, everyone watching realized they were witnessing something miraculous. Children who had never met, living on different planets, united by the memory of a little boy who had lived for only 10 weeks but whose love had literally moved mountains and built hospitals on Mars. When the song ended, Elon took the microphone for the final time. 25 years ago, Justine and I lost our son. We thought our world was ending. Today, I realize our world was just beginning. He looked at the live feed from Mars, where baby James Nevada was sleeping peacefully in the hospital, built in his namesake's honor. Nevada's story isn't about death, it's about life multiplied by love. One child's brief existence has become millions of children's hope for the future. Elon's voice grew stronger and more confident than anyone had ever heard it. Today, Nevada is alive in every child saved by gene therapy. He's alive in every family that doesn't have to say goodbye. He's alive in the clean air of Mars and the laughter of children playing in Nevada Park. He paused, looking directly at the camera, and he's alive in the promise that humanity will never stop reaching for the stars, because sometimes our greatest achievements come from our deepest love. The celebration ended with a moment of silence for Nevada and all the children who had been lost too soon. But it wasn't a sad silence. It was peaceful, grateful, and full of hope. As the crowd began to leave, Justine and Elon found themselves alone under the same stars they had looked at 25 years ago when they first dreamed of having children together. "Did we do enough?" Justine asked, the same question she had asked many times over the years. But this time, Elon's answer was different. "We did everything love could do, and love, it turns out, can do everything." Above them, Mars glowed softly in the evening sky. On that distant world, the first Mars-born child was sleeping safely in a hospital, built from a father's promise and a mother's hope. Around him, other children played and learned and grew in the safest place humans had ever created for their young. Nevada Alexander Musk had kept his appointment with the stars. His 10 weeks of life had become humanity's infinite future, and in every child born after him, on Earth or Mars or whatever worlds humans would reach next, his love would continue, as bright and eternal as the stars themselves. The promise had been kept. The dream had come true. Love had conquered even death. We'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and tell us your city or country. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories that celebrate the power of love, hope, and human determination. Most importantly, share this video with your friends and family. Nevada's story reminds us that kindness spreads when we share it, and awareness grows when we speak up for those who can't speak for themselves. Sometimes the most powerful way to honor those we've lost is to spread stories that help others find hope. Thank you for listening, and remember, love truly can conquer even death.